And we are live. Greetings, everyone. I bet you did not see that coming, that we would actually start on time, no intro or anything like that. Tom will be joining us a little bit later on here. I'm here with Kamran, as you can see. Kamran looking all really nice, dressed and everything for the occasion. And that's because we have a hard out. Kamran, you're at the hotel, aren't you? You have like some other engagements.
I'm at a hotel. I'm officiating my cousin's wedding. And so I'm going to have a hard out in exactly 25 minutes. And so my apologies to everyone watching. I will not be able to get to all your super chats, but hopefully we can jump right in and we can continue the conversation later and on my Patreon. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And for Patreon, of course, check out the link, which is right there in the description for some exclusive Hollywood stories. And we're gonna jump right into it, since Tom hasn't arrived yet. He's gonna join soon, but Kamran has a hard out, so we're gonna jump right into it. And the first order of today, and this is what I really want to talk to you about, because this is something that we've been covering for some time already, namely the Scarjo and Disney lawsuit over the Black Widow. That has now reached its conclusion and completely behind the scenes. I'm going to bring up the story here, and then we're going to go through exactly what's going on here. So just give me 1 second. We're going to have this up on screen. Without Tom here, and it's just me, it takes a little bit more time, so you're just going to have to bear me with. But here we go. So here we have it: the Scarlett Johansson Disney settle explosive Black Widow lawsuit. The settlement ends a back-and-forth PR battle pitching the CAA rep star against the studio that was poised to have dramatic implications for all of Hollywood's majors. I'm just going through the story really quickly here. We then have a Scarlett Johansson stating that she's happy to have resolved our differences with Disney, happy with the work we've done, and looking forward to continuing the collaboration with Disney in years to come. Disney Studios chairman Alan Bergman added, "Very pleased that we have been able to come to a mutual agreement with Scarjo regarding Black Widow, and also they look forward to working with her on upcoming projects, including Disney's Tower of Terror." Then they basically go through the case as it was, but these are the two statements, Johansson and Disney Studios chairman Alan Bergman. Not mentioned here are Bob Chapek or certainly not Kevin Feige. So, Kamran, share your wisdom. What is going on here?
Well, when I got a message from our friend Stephanie Janicek, I'm traveling on the East Coast right now in Pennsylvania, and I got a text message last night in the car, and that this has happened. I just laughed because this is exactly what we've been talking about for weeks on Midnight's Edge, because this was the only logical way this would have ended, and it ended at exactly the point that we talked about. Weeks ago on Midnight's Edge, I said that this lawsuit that Scarlett Johansson had filed had shocked Hollywood because it really was a violation of Hollywood protocol. This kind of issue, especially with a major top actress like Scarlett Johansson, should have been easily resolved behind the scenes without ever getting to the public. That's how Hollywood does these things. It is very rare for these things come into the public in such an ugly fashion. And it made no sense here because, she sued claiming that Black Widow had underperformed because Bob Chapek had overruled Kevin Feige, who had wanted to just do a pure theatrical release. And he said, no, we're going to do day and date. We're going to put it out theatrically, and we're going to do a special run on streaming where we're, simultaneously. And she claimed that undercut its box office performance, and her bonus in her contract was tied to the box office gross. And I said, this is easily resolved. This should have been resolved by one phone call from her agent to Bob Chapek saying, hey, my client's not happy with this. And her agent is one of the most powerful people in town, Brian Lord, the head of CAA, which recently had its own major news, and it's by ICM, another big agency. So that should have been resolved with one phone call. And apparently it was resolved, because in the response to the lawsuit, Disney said, and I believe them, Disney said that we don't know why you're even suing us. In the legal response, in the filings to the court, Disney said that we had resolved this. We had called your agent in advance when we told them this is the new strategy. We're going to put it out simultaneously on streaming, and we will count every dollar from streaming exactly as we would count box office. You would get 100% par, so it'll just be another box office number on top of that. We had already said that to you. We've unilaterally given that to you. So what is this is about, right? And when I saw that, I just laughed. I said, well, first of all, I knew that that's exactly what happened, because they wouldn't have risked a relationship with Scarlett Johansson, someone that important to them. So of course they would have done that. And so I'm sure Bob Chapek was shocked when he got this lawsuit, because he realized at that moment, I already resolved this. I gave her everything. So where's this coming from? It's not coming from her. It must be coming from my annoying feudal liege, Kevin Feige, who's annoyed that I publicly announced that I'm going to rein in my studio heads inside of Disney, and I'm going to put them on short-term contracts. And I've already taken out Kathleen Kennedy and forced her to settle quietly. And now this guy is sending his big guns after me because he has the courage to take me on himself. And so that's why they responded, and they were as blunt as possible in the response. And I had predicted on Midnight's Edge, when this first happened several weeks ago, I said, this lawsuit isn't going to make it. And what's going to happen is Shang-Chi is not going to perform as well as Black Widow, even without the simultaneous release, because that's what Bob Chapek, the genius that he is, said to Kevin Feige. Oh, okay, you want to come at me? I'm going to give you exactly what you wanted on your pet project. We're going to put the Shang-Chi out without any streaming counter release at the same time. We're just gonna put it out all theatrically, and we'll see what happens. And he wisely understood that this would not perform as well as Black Widow, and it didn't. Despite trades like Deadline, which are very pro Feige, trying to hype it up, the reality is Shang-Chi has underperformed from Black Widow just on theatrical. The last number that I said, I put this out on my Patreon article last night in response to this. I believe the last number that we have as of now, 4 weeks into this release, Shang-Chi is at 366 million globally. Black Widow topped out at 378 million globally. So I think our friend Script Doctor is in the chat here, and he said it's likely that Shang-Chi is just going to finish at 370, which is about right. So it's going to, even on theatrical, it's going to be less than Black Widow. And now you can't even claim that streaming cannibalized it. It simply didn't make as much money. And when you look at what happened on Black Widow, that streaming brought in $125 million extra in streaming sales, along with the 378 million in box office sales. And with streaming, Disney keeps 85% and more of that, whereas in theaters, it keeps 50 to 60% of the return. The other half goes to theater. So if it's keeping 85% plus of $125 million, that means $100 million final end money comes into Disney to Black Widow. So Black Widow is going to make approximately into Disney's pocket, over $100 million more than Shang-Chi did. So I had predicted in sort of our subsequent conversations, and I started seeing how Shang-Chi rolled out exactly as we predicted it would, that what's going to happen is her lawyers are going to see that Shang-Chi is underperforming, using the same logic that she's using for her lawsuit. And so they're going to, once the final numbers, and I said this on Midnight's Edge, maybe even 2 weeks ago, I said, once the final numbers are going to come in showing Shang-Chi is going to underperform using Scarlett Johansson and Kevin Feige's preferred strategy of theatrical only, that they're going to realize they're not going to win this, whether it goes to arbitration or whether it goes to court. Bob Chapek outsmarted them. He said, I'm going to show you your numbers. I gave you a gift. We made $100 million more, and I already promised you that extra $100 million is going to be counted to your box office gross. So for all intents and purposes, Black Widow made almost $500 million for your box office bonus purposes. So what's your argument? There is none. And I said, the moment they're seeing the final numbers play out, her team's going to fold, which is what happened. This suddenly 4 weeks into this, when we see essentially Shang-Chi solidifying under Black Widow theatrically, surprise, and Hollywood was surprised by this. They were surprised by the lawsuit. I wasn't surprised by this because we said it on Midnight's Edge, that this is exactly what's coming. And the way that, and what's interesting is this, Andre, look at who, and you read it, look at who broke the story, The Hollywood Reporter. broke the story.
Yeah, I made a particular note of that. It was the exact publications which you said, oh, these are the ones that Feige's camp uses, and not the financial publications.
Deadline is what Feige's camp uses.
Yeah.
What Chapek uses.
Oh, yes, right, yeah.
Yes, and so the release comes out on the Chapek friendly trade. So there's essentially there's a few others, but there's three major trades. There's Variety and Deadline, which are owned by Penske Media, and they are very pro the club. They're into supporting the current power structure and whoever is famous and powerful, right? Whereas Hollywood Reporter is very much about supporting the guys behind the scenes, the financiers and the investors. That doesn't make them good or bad, right? It's not like Hollywood Reporter is good because it supports investors. It's had some very poor coverage of Johnny Depp because its sympathy is with powerful money men. So Johnny Depp's ex-wife that he's having a fight with has a relationship with Elon Musk, who is a rich money man. So their sympathy is with the rich money man. And in that case, I don't support where their coverage has gone. But in this case, their sympathy is with the rich money men of behind Disney. And so this was the place that released it. And not only did they break the news, Scarlett Johansson put out a statement to them that she didn't put out to Variety or to Deadline, saying how wonderful her relationship with Disney is and she's glad to move forward, excited for the future. That was put out to them. It was chosen because Hollywood Reporter is the same place that broke back in April that Chapek was going to assert control and take control over Disney and his studio chiefs. And that had been the trade that Chapek had decided, okay, these guys are on my team. I'm going to release it through that. And so this is all very strategic that this release came out through a Hollywood Reporter, a pro-Chapek, pro-investor trade magazine, right? And the other trades were then scrambling. And if you look at the Deadline.com coverage, it's quite comical because you watch it, you read it, and it's all about how this is a win for Kevin Feige because that's how they're going to portray it, right? And this was that Disney buckle. Disney didn't buckle. They could have fought this out for another year because they knew they had all the leverage. They had the numbers from Shang-Chi. They had the fact, and I'm sure they have the records of that phone call. I'm sure because all these phone calls are recorded and, assistants are listening in. They have the records of the phone call that was made to CAA saying, we're going to give you whatever, we're going to give Scarlett everything she wants. And so they'll have that said, so what's this lawsuit about? What are you suing about? We already gave it to you. We already gave you what you wanted. The only argument you have is that this release strategy undercut that maybe it would have made $500 million in theaters. Well, we've proven it wouldn't. So we're already going to give you a better deal than the Shang-Chi guys got. So be happy with it. And they'll have the record of that call. So they were always going to win this lawsuit. And so now we have the ramifications of essentially Scarlett Johansson going, I'm out. What did I get myself into? I'm sure, like I said, I've said this on Midnight's Edge before. Actors often don't really know what's in their contracts because they're just generally not business people, right? Like I'm a former MBA, I'm a former law degree, whatever. So at least I go over my contracts in depth, and with my entertainment attorney, I ask questions about different paragraphs. Most artists don't do that. So I'm sure when she got word back saying, well, according to the Disney, they already offered this to your agent to resolve this before there was even a lawsuit, before the movie came out. She's like, what? Why didn't I know about that? Kevin, what did you do? You pulled me into this thing and I already had everything I needed. So that's why she folded immediately. The moment her lawyer said, yeah, I don't think we're going to win this. She's like, okay, settle it out right now. I need to fix this with Disney. And that's why it's all been kissing Disney's butt since yesterday.
Yeah, those are some very astute observations. In terms of the trades, where is the variety in this? Because I noticed that they're like, first they repeat the Hollywood Reporter's writing, and then they go through the history with how horrible Disney was for bringing up her salary and stuff. So I would imagine that variety is a little bit more in the Feige camp.
Well, yeah, because they're owned by the same company as Deadline,
Yeah, exactly.
Media,
yeah,
right.
You can totally tell from the difference in how it's being framed.
Exactly, and Deadline is more virulent about it because it's really a bit of a rag. It's almost like the Star magazine or the Weekly World News, and it's a bit of I'm sure there's some reporter Deadlines watching this going, I'm going to cover Cameron badly. I'm like, let's get to the place where I've got something to announce you can cover badly. But the reality is Deadline has a very clear slant, right? And and so does Hollywood Reporter. So they went with the one that was slanted in their direction, and the other trades are covering it. And they're trying to make their constituents happy, Feige and the club, by presenting it as a victory. But people inside the town know what this is about. At least the sophisticated people, like the average buffoon, who believes whatever he's reading in the trades, even in the town, is going to be misled. But anyone who understands what the dynamics are, and just in how Scarlet then is saying wonderful things. And you have Bergman, who has been sent out by Chapek, so you go do this, right? Because that's what a king does. A king does not go out and announce these things. There's in my novel Shadow of the Swords, there's a moment where it's about Richard the Lionheart versus Saladin, the Muslim king in Jerusalem, and Richard demands an audience with Saladin when he first arrives, start the crusade and attack, right? And Saladin sends back a message saying it is not fit for kings to meet without peace, right? It's inappropriate. And so we'll work through our intermediaries. So right now there's a war between Kevin Feige and Bob Chapek. And so guess what's happening? Everything is being done through intermediaries. The human nature hasn't changed. Power hasn't changed. So Scarlett Johansson was the intermediary for Kevin Feige. She bowed out. And then Bergman was sent as the intermediary on behalf of Chapek to say how they're going to work with Scarlett on their next movie they announced, which is Tower, the Tower of Terror.
Tower of Terror, I think it was.
Yeah. And that's not a Marvel property.
Yeah.
So on
that note then, because then it would appear that Feige, he aimed for King Chapek and he missed. What will be the repercussions from this?
The repercussions are, as I said in my Patreon article last night, Feige now has no allies. The other actors, like the gentleman from Doctor Strange, Cumberbatch come out and was really sympathetic towards Disney because he knows where his money is, his bread is butter.
Let alone the Russos.
Let alone the Russos, who
came out and even said that the MCU is essentially ruined now. It's been a joke now because of Loki.
Exactly. So they've come out, and so these are powerful filmmakers, people that the club respects and fears. And now you have Scarlett Johansson, who's someone the club at least desires. They're in love with her, right? And she's an icon for them. And now she's folded. So he's got nothing. He's got no allies, right? I haven't seen anybody come out in his defense. Johansson was his swordplay, right? And so Feige has a choice now. If he's going to continue to be the president of Marvel, he's got to accept whatever Chapek says, right? Chapek just did a shot to the head here. And so if he doesn't, then here's prediction time, okay? If Kevin Feige has two options, he either accepts Bob Chapek has won and Bob Chapek is the boss, and he's going to accept whatever changes to his contract moving forward, and oversight is now being placed by Disney on top of Marvel. He's going to accept that in order to continue to play the role of Marvel president and to get all the wonderful accolades and fun that come with it, or he's going to be pushed out. And since someone like him has a lot of public, attention, at least, I will wonder whether he has that much public support, especially with some of the directions Marvel has gone into. But he certainly has a lot of public attention, which is his defense, is his shield. So they're going to have to undercut his public thing, and that's already begun with the star of Shang-Chi, who's a protege of Bob Feige. All that stuff coming out about Mr. Simu Liu making idiotic comments about people that like little children, and so that kind of stuff makes Feige looks stupid for making that kind of moron his protege that he pushed forward for his big diversity push, right? So if Kevin Feige does not bend the knee, we're going to see more and more embarrassing things about Marvel come out. And it's going to be a way to create the public dissatisfaction with Kevin Feige and take away his luster so that Chapek can say, it's time for you to move on, son. We'll give you a really nice package. Maybe not as nice as Kathleen Kennedy, who surrendered a lot easier, right? So that's what I see coming. I see it's either Kevin Feige is going to accept Bob Chapek as his boss, or he's going to be embarrassed and pushed out. It's his choice now.
Well, he can always look forward to the theatrically exclusive Eternals in a month here, so I'm sure that'll turn everything around. I know that you have a hard out in a couple of minutes here.
Is there any?
So we do have a couple of super chats. Dark King, this is one we can bring up on screen, says, if Chapek is secure in his job for now, how long can he stay before his profit first, profit only approach becomes detrimental to Disney?
Well, right now he's going to stay as long as exactly what it is, which is that they need it. They need profit right now, and so when he turns this ship around and Disney becomes financially flush again without the crisis it's been in for a couple of years, then then the club may, if the club, however it's constituted at that time, well, I'm sure try to assert itself, because these things are history of cycles, right? Business is cycles. So he'll have his thing, and he'll go down in history likely as the man who saved Disney and put it back to profitability, and then he'll move on, and I'm sure whatever version of the club exists in those days will come back and assert itself at that time, and because it's that whole cyclical story of hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times, right? And so we are in the hard times created by weak men in the past, like Bob Iger and others. They were weak and they weren't able to fix it. They just let idiots control Star Wars and other things, right? And so that we are in the weak time, and so these hard times are creating strong men. They're bringing forward Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek is going to create good times, and then he'll retire, and then as a result, good times will bring another Iger, attention.
And the cycle starts again. Yes.
Yeah, but I think we got a decade. I think we got a decade to get Disney back on track, especially considering how the world has essentially ruined itself. It's going to take a while to rebuild the world. So we have a decade, I think.
Yeah. And then Robert Montoya, he points out for $4.99. Last night, Iger and Chapek were together at Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary celebration. Iger looked uncomfortable and maybe defeated. Chapek, confident.
Well, that speaks for itself, because these are all Iger's people, right? These were, he's uncomfortable because Kathleen Kennedy is out. And I'm going to write about this on Patreon as well, that, I said this on Midnight's Edge, that we'll know that she's out when she starts getting her awards. And I think my friend Stephanie Janicek just sent me an email about, the first one of these sort of lifetime kind of achievement awards has just been jostled for Kathleen Kennedy. That's the beginning of her farewell tour. Iger knows that, and if he's looking uncomfortable, it's because he knows that Chapek outsmarted his other protege, Kevin Feige, right? I mean, so of course he's looking comfortable because Chapek is coming in and essentially fixing everything that he screwed up with his weak men create hard times situation. So his legacy is going to be, Chapek will be remembered historically as the man that fixed the problem that Iger created. That is not the legacy he wanted to leave, but that's the legacy he's left.
Exactly. And then many people are also pointing out that you are looking absolutely awesome, Kamran.
I can't get my tie right.
All the redneck nerd says, I'm late, looking good, Kamran Pasha. Knock them out. A couple of other super chats real quick. Doesn't require any long response.
2 minutes. I have to head
Mr. Tickle Trunk says for $2 Canadian, Kamran looking svelte. And Darking says for $2 Australian, Kamran has gone Star Wars. He is the tie writer. Our good friend Mexican Iron Man says, I find it fascinating as to how Kamran nailed which publication got the scoop, and further that Kevin was not cited as a quote. And of course, he also says for $19.99, Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Please hit the like and share. Subscribe to Pasha's Patreon and become a member of Midnight's Edge today. And yes, absolutely, subscribe to Kamran Pasha on Patreon for many, many more and very frequent detailed breakdowns of what's going on in Hollywood. The link for that is in the description. With that, I know that you have to run. There's a wedding that's not going to be able to carry on without you. So thank you for your time and for coming in when you clearly have other pressing matters as well.
No, it meant a lot to me, but I do have to run out. My cousin's waiting for me. I got to do her wedding. But yeah, definitely subscribe to Midnight's Edge, which is proving to be really the best channel out there. It's going to become a major player in entertainment news moving forward. It's already established itself as such, and I'm honored to be an early participant in it. And please do join me on Patreon. We've had almost 80 subscribers now. We've been on for just barely a month. And I'm putting out as many articles as I can with these kinds of insights. I had a very detailed article just a week ago about Bob Chapek and predicting some of the things that we saw 1 week later. So I'm going to keep trying to do those things and give you guys advance notice on Patreon about stuff that's happening in Hollywood. So thank you all for your time. And I got to go do a wedding. And so stay here because I think Andre has seen James Bond. He's got some perceptions on it. So everyone stick around.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Kamran, for joining us.
God bless. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Take care. And then hopefully Tom will be joining us any minute here as well. But until then, it's just me. And then, since we have a little bit more time, I can finally say hello to everyone for joining us. For those that came in a little bit later, Kamran was on a hard deadline today, so we just had to rush through everything without any greetings or anything like that we usually do. Let's begin by welcoming a couple of new members, such as Tarje Tiberius Mørk. Velkommen, Tarje. He's a fellow countryman, and I'll be mentioning him a little bit later on because I do owe him one. And also joining us as a member is Copper Indio. So welcome to you, and to Dolben, also another new member. So welcome everyone. And then greetings to everyone else as well. We have Mike Cat is here. We have Film Lars, one of the Danish contingency. Sailor Sonic 78 is here. And we have Naked Fame, who says on behalf of us all, lots of new members today. Holy crap. Welcome all. Yes, indeed. Welcome one, welcome all. Tell Tom if that now would be a good time to come in. And Lieutenant Pretendant says that Andre sounds better today. Laryngitis defeated. I don't know that I ever had laryngitis, but yeah, I had some bullcrap, and it's getting better. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. I do wish that it was over by the time I had recorded yesterday's video about the Star Wars animated series, but no such luck. And then we have Stephanie Janishek is here, Tim Hayes is here, Donny Canop is here, Dark King points out the late Tom Connors. Now, I spoke with him earlier, so he'll be late only in, that sense. But until he joins, maybe our good friend Mike can join us. I'm going to send him the link, so I'm not just talking to myself here. Just give me a second here. And then, Mike, if you're listening, feel free to hop on. Well, I get back to the right window here. And then we have Mr. Tickle Trunk is here, Rob Altus is here, and Fractal Jack is here, and many others, and so many new members. Yeah, it's amazing. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Actually, I did. I also have to say welcome to Red Tigress. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you join us. And Moldovan Alin from Romania says one-man show Andre. Yeah, for the time being. And Knut 82 Wonder, is Tom still yelling at his computer and punching it? Yeah, he better be for leaving me alone here right now. So yeah, and Konchuk says that I thought Norwegians liked being alone. Well, we do, but there's a time and a place for everything. And let's see. And Reservoir Frog says, Andre, you've seen 007. Yes, I have seen it. And we're going to get into that really soon here. As soon as I have someone to throw ideas and have a conversation with. Then we're going to get into James Bond, which is kind of our other big topic of today, because I see a lot of praise for it. And partially, it's well earned. Also partially, I think there's parts of it that's not going to be so popular with a lot of people. And we have another couple of super chats, so let's go through those till someone else joins. Diego Flores says, shoot, I missed Kamran. Did he make a prediction? Well, actually, first, he took a victory lap because previous celebration of his came true. which you know sometimes does happen. And then let's see. Give me 1 second here, since I'm trying to manage things here as best as I can on my own. And then going through some of the older super chats here. We can also get this one up on screen. HyperGyver 2 wonders, so do you think the OT reboot is a good thing? This, of course, is in reference to the video that we put out yesterday about how Lucasfilm reportedly is planning an animated reinterpretation of the original trilogy. But it's not really a reboot. It's not something that's going to replace the original trilogy. Rather, it's kind of like an animated what-if special, where you go through a new adaptation of the original screenplay that George Lucas wrote before he got, you know, feedback and others keeping him in check and giving him some very important pointers on how actually best to crack the story. So it's like his early draft, and they're going to do an animated version of that. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I just hope that they're going to stick to that draft, and that they're not going to go overtly political. That is my worry, that someone is going to be tempted to try to, you know, contemporize it in any way, shape, or form, because I would really suck if that were to happen. And then Durao On says, yay, Solo Andre, hail chat, vive le Midnight's Edge. Oh, merci beaucoup. And then let's see what else we can bring up on screen before we get into the classics, and then we're going to get into the show proper. We have Novo Branek, who sent us 40 Russian rubles, and he just wanted to hear me say, well, that's the wrong order, but yeah, well, if that's how you wanted it. And we had another new member in Bus Hi-Fi. Welcome, everyone. And now that my voice is clearing up, there's very soon going to be more exclusive content, both behind the scenes as well as Norse mythology. I just haven't been able to record any the past couple of weeks because, you know, it really suck if my voice sucked for something that was going to be forever. And that's kind of like the intention for those things. Let's see, those are all the super chats that I can bring up on screen here. So let's get into the classics and get fully caught up here. Here's another one. Diego Flores says, Andre, have you seen Marvel and Sony putting Venom in the MCU? Do you think this could do to restart the hype machine, or still feel that MCU is a closed chapter and that is it? Well, yeah, I have seen that Venom is retroactively being inserted into the MCU, and honestly, I don't think that's a very good idea. There was a time when I would have loved it, but right now, with the MCU losing its way, unless they're going to refine it really freaking quickly, I would have preferred if they remain separate. As it is, Venom is like the Marvel movie I'm looking forward to the most, and I get that, like, it opens in the US this weekend, doesn't it? I mean, that's freaking unfair. It doesn't open in Norway for like what, another 5 weeks or something. So it's like the complete total opposite of Dune. Dune opened here like a month and a half before everywhere else. But when it comes to Venom, we're the ones getting it a month and a half later. I mean, would have thought that we would be over that kind of bullcrap by now, but I guess not. And Hyper Guyver 2 says, I in Wakandan, get this man a co-host. I don't do accents, but I appreciate the sentiment. And Midnight Sun says, hello, Andre. What did you think of Leto's Joker in Justice League? Was it an improvement over his performance in Suicide Squad? Well, yes, it was. It was a huge improvement. I really did like the Snyder Cut, to be honest. And I liked his part in it. And the way that he was reinterpreted there is something I would not mind seeing any more of. And on the topic of Venom, Warwolf points out that it opens today in the US, actually. Yeah, I got that. That's pretty cool for you guys, because as Jace Fox points out, in Norway, it's November 12th, so a month and a half, pretty much the exact same time that you guys had to wait for Dune. You still have to wait, actually. That I got to see it early. So, yeah, I guess that's some poetic justice, isn't it? And we have Tom joining us. Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Sorry, Sadie had to go out at the last second.
Yeah, no, that's quite all right. Quite all right. So, yeah, no longer Andre's solo show. But let's take the opportunity to run through the classic super chats before we get into the next topics of the day. And in the meantime, if those of you watching can do me a favor, smash that like and help share this stream, because we're about to get into all things James Bond, among other things. So do hit the like for that. Before that, though, classic super chats. SDR Red Wolf said for $5, welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. Hail Andre and Kamran. And I'm going to add in Tom in there because he just joined us. And Darking said, title for this lawsuit's eventual movie, Scarface. Yeah, that's quite fitting right there. And Stephen Otten said for $2, hail Andre, Kamran, Wrenches, and chat. And Tom. Yes, indeed. Hail Stephen Otten. Then we got this one. And, this is a good one. Tom, maybe you've heard about this. Callum Lyle said for $5 Australian. Did any of you read that foul-mouthed interview of Kevin Smith wanting to work at Marvel? Umbrella Guy has the video, and Kevin Smith is a piece of shit. That's Callum Lyle's words right there. So, Tom, have you heard of this?
No, it's the first I heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that either, but granted, I'm not surprised in the slightest. And after looking at what he did to, deconstruct He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, that's a pretty decent application for Marvel, isn't it?
I'm not surprised if he was supposed to do that Howard the Duck show for Hulu. He's always hovered around, and that's what he does. Like, in the last 20 years, he's just sat there and waited for them to give him projects to do. And that's the funny thing is, back in the day, he turned down some bigger projects because he didn't want to be responsible for them. But now it's like he'll take anything they give him. And some of the shit he said about He-Man was just like, really? That doesn't even sound like the same person from 20 years ago. So yeah, I'm not surprised. He'll do whatever the hell they tell him to do. Probably a Kamala Khan show you watch. He'll probably do an episode of that or something.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if that were the case.
To be about his level.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, here's like the thing that he's worked for Marvel before, not so much for Marvel Studios, but he was a writer on Daredevil. And through that, he also got like a cameo in Fox's Daredevil movie. But of course, he'd love to be part of the MCU. I mean, who wouldn't? And with the with the everything he did on Masters of the Universe. I mean, that's one hell of a resume. Like with him saying, "Oh, look what I can do. Look how I can completely trash this male icon. Hire me for the MCU. I know which direction you're going." Pretty strong direction right there.
I would love to hear what he had said, because it doesn't sound like whatever he said was very good. So
yeah, no, we have to check out that interview and then circle back to you to quote someone else who likes to do that.
Right.
And then moving on with the classic super chats before we get into Bond and everything like it. Then we have Sontar, who says, for $5 Canadian, I see Drinker isn't the only one who needs to watch Common Sense Skeptic. Don't believe Musk's lies. He is a charlatan and a fraud, says Sontar. Tom, were you aware that Elon Musk and SpaceX and everything is like charlatan and frauds?
No, it's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah. No, I probably have to do some more research into that matter. But still, it's I have to say it's a really glorious sight how those rockets keep on landing. That's that is beautiful. And then Naked Fame said for $2, and his message is, Naked Fame says, hi, Tom.
Hey, Naked Fame, how you doing?
Yeah. And Organic Vistas says, I support you guys, Gilbert Gottfried and Joey Diaz. I'm thankful to you all for honest discussions without judgments. You're leading our recovery. Oh, well, thank you. That's mighty words right there, and we greatly appreciate it, and we'll do our best to try to live up to it.
Thank you very much. There you go. There's a little Gilbert Gottfried for you.
Exactly. And then let's see. We got this one. We got this one. We got that one. And then Mr. Tickle Trunk, this is the most recent one, said, if they put Spider-Man and Venom in a movie together to hype machine, the hype machine would restart. Spider-Man has always been Marvel's most popular character. Now, Tom, I have to say I'm a little bit jealous of you because you get to see Venom and Carnage already today.
I could have seen it last night, and I didn't.
Like that's the only Marvel movie I'm honestly looking forward to. Do you think putting him into the MCU is going to be a good move? And someone else who can weigh in on that, and also bring the rabbit chicken tacos is Mike, the Mexican Iron Man. Greetings.
Hey, boss. Sorry, I got the link right when you sent it. I had just gotten on a call, and I'm off the call now. So
absolutely, calls come first.
Is Paulie there too?
No, he's out for a couple hours.
Oh, okay. Well, Paulie actually saw it last night, and he loved it, I guess.
Yeah.
A couple of the
Venom or
yeah.
And I kind of sent you a spoiler, but we knew that already like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
If you would recalled, I think you were there when the conversation happened.
Yep.
So yeah, we kind of already know the ramifications of this film. I'm not happy about certain aspects of Venom if they were to hint make it part of the MCU, but it could be worse. I still want to see this film though, because I've heard enough mixed reactions now, although most of the consensus seems to be that it's not woke and a couple other things like that, and a lot of the stuff they're pushing. Here's the other thing I keep hearing is like here we have now a couple movies where they've pushed this narrative in the media that isn't exactly in the film.
Right.
We have the Venom thing with the Venom is gay now. We have the Bond thing with how much they're pushing against certain things in the press there, and and so on.
That's something we can speak more to.
Yeah, afterwards. I was going to say, because that's coming up here anyhow. And what was the other one that Dune that you just saw? Was another one. That they were virtue signaling to the press, but the movie itself had little virtue signaling in it.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. I thought about seeing it last night, but then I would have had to end the show early. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to see it today or tonight necessarily. I might try this weekend, but I didn't go see the first one right away.
Mhm.
I waited for video.
Hmm.
There's a couple things now that make me want to kind of go see this, but I'm not like jumping to go see it. But it did very fucking well last night. It did $11 million.
Yeah, and as I was saluting, we're talking about a couple movies that have this thing in common with how it's being marketed or talked about by some of the people on the inside versus what people's reactions are. And I can tell you this, from looking for tickets, I plan to see it Sunday afternoon myself. And I'm looking online right now in my local theater, and there's about 100 and what? Let me count the rows, including disability access, about 108 seats, and of those 35 are gone for a Sunday afternoon, evening. And I've been buying movie tickets at this theater for now. This is my 7th week. That's astounding. I mean, because kids are back in school, the whole 9 yards. So that tells me that at a local level, this movie's going to do it right. And I think I mentioned last night on Midnight Sage After Dark, Tom, just to remind you about 007, since I know we're going to talk about that a little bit. I told you that yesterday, live on the show, right when we started the show, I'd gotten an email. So I had bought a ticket for the opening show on Friday, right? And then they released a matinee version the day before on Thursday at my local theater, and I got an email from Fandango, and I switched it, and I was like 11 minutes right after I got the email, right, fresh. That one also had almost 40 people that had bought tickets for the day before showing. For the matinee, and it's just one matinee in the afternoon. So I think, and then you couple that with what we read about with the AMC news release yesterday as well. Movie theaters are not going to die, and they're not going to die easily. And there is still a big market for people that want to see things in the theater. I believe it, and I'm seeing the data. And I'm also seeing something else too, which is that I think there's a lot of virtue signaling going on now in the media, and that virtue signaling isn't making it through a lot of movies. I look, my first reality on this thing was Protege. Not that there was any woke marketing for it, but I was astounded how unwoke Protege was 2 months ago. I thought it was outstanding that movie. I thought it was astounding and outstanding that movie had zero woke elements in it, and it came out. Yet it started a leading lady. Along with Michael Keaton and others. And I said, oh my goodness, we might be, I mean, times might get more, it might get darker, but, we might have some dark clouds and some more rain before we see the sunshine. But I'm already seeing this hurricane of woke already starting to dissipate.
Yeah. Well, we have another member of our crew with us today. Good morning, Culture Casino.
Good morning.
Hey, Culture.
Good morning. Good morning. I tried to get in here sooner to keep it from being just Andre, but
I had to run. If I walked, the movie would be over.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? Norway's leading the way. Your country opened up completely and totally.
Yeah, completely opened up last week.
And not to the complete happiness of all U.S.-based media, which is now manifesting itself in releases of news things yesterday and today. People are not happy with your country, Andre, but you know what? Blessed be Norway. Lead the way, brother. Lead the way.
Well, Japan followed suit, I believe, either yesterday
Was
or
it not
today.
Singapore or something like that too?
Yeah, you're starting to see whole countries just be like, you know what, we're going to be living with this.
Yeah.
So let's live with it.
And there's also one thing that if there was one thing that America absolutely could learn from, like this whole thing has not been hyper politicized the way that it has in the US. It's not that a certain group of the population is blamed as opposed to another group of the population, right? Like one group of the population that so far has done as they've been encouraged, and those that haven't done as they've been encouraged. If you catch my drift, I don't want to get into any more details because YouTube is striking down even more on it. No one has said, like those of you that didn't do what was encouraged of you, no one has said that this is your fault. No one has tried to shift blame, because here I'm very happy to say that unlike what is done by a certain administration here, one actually tries to follow the science, or follow science rather than to declare one person who's one of the worst scientists ever seen and declare that's the personification of science.
Yeah, and there was
so there's no blaming of any part of the population. Like, we're all in this together, and those that follow encouragement, all awesome for you. Those that don't want to for whatever reason, just take care of yourself, and should you need it, the hospital is there for you.
I know last night we watched a video. Was it somebody from who was it, from Australia? Culture, help me out here. We were on Comics' show.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, we watch a lot of different things.
But the guy who basically said the whole thing is so.
Oh yeah, that was one of the watchdog groups in Australia.
I don't want to say all the specifics, but
he forced the person that was in charge of New South Wales to resign because of corruption. So. Yeah, you're starting to see some stuff, and I'm going to be careful on how I'm phrasing anything else.
And let's just say that a certain pokey jabby jab was mentioned. Company behind one of them, anyway. Let's say.
And again, I mean, we're just gonna, like I said, I mean, as more and more information comes out, look. Let's just do this. Let's follow the money. There. I've said it.
The many saints of Newark would. And speaking of, I know somebody who's seen it, so I can kind of answer this at least from one person's point of view. Killer Clown Weird World, or at least a couple people, I should say, seen it. And not hearing good things at all. Heard it was like an overly long pilot episode for a bad TV show, is what I was told.
Yeah, I've heard kind of two that are along the way, and that kind of bums me out, because I was hoping this would be like something they could.
That's funny you say that, Tom. Someone told me late last night, like 2 a.m. I got a text that I read this morning that they said it was like watching a TV show. And I know it's not the same person you're talking about.
Not likely. That I don't know of.
Well, this person's from California, Northern California. I mean, they're just... Anyway, don't tell me, but I'm just saying. So what movie? We've talked about the Venom, 007.
Well, now we're going to jump to 007 after a few more super chats here.
Okay.
Yeah, because I actually... well, super chats. Chris, come join us.
Yes, please.
There were 2 people that have seen it.
Yeah, Bond.
So we'll hook you up. Tom will hook you up with the link.
Why, did you watch Bond last night too, or something?
Me?
Yeah,
I saw it this morning.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I messaged you.
I didn't read it. Andre, I barely fucking had time to open my eyes and get it.
Yeah, I know. I figured. But while you were sleeping, I was watching Bond, so I've seen it already.
And
we'll get into it. Let's see if we can get Chris Gore in
crying
here.
out loud, you got to keep me hanging. I'm trying to find Chris in my...
What do you mean talking about? I'm the big Bond fan here on this thingy here. I'm like, you're like not even hardly... I've been asking you...
I'll send it to you. If you haven't, don't...
Yes!
I'll find him here, and I'll send him the link.
Yes, Cole.
So...
Already
2 of us.
Oh, okay. I did too. So then he definitely has the link. So if Chris, if you can join us, then feel free to hop on. And on Super Chats, Red Tigress says for $10 on James Bond. From what I've heard, I have no interest in these nasty female characters. There is no need for it. You could have 00 that was good, who respects Bond, is a good agent. Red Tigress, what you have heard is severely overblown. What you are getting is actually closer to what you say that you would have wanted.
That's kind of what I've heard.
Yeah, and Red Tigress also follows up with, there is a difference between what an independent, competent woman versus this cut-out Hollywood wants to give us. And there's actually a little bit more nuance to the new stand in 007 than what you would think. Certainly, judging from the first trailer.
And that's what I mean. Here we have 3 movies now in a row that they have pushed to the media as something completely different than what they actually are in a lot of ways. So
Naked Fame points out reshoots, and you can.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. That I'm not surprised by.
And there's one segment in it that was totally written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I could totally tell. Oh, that's something that's left of Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah,
But
that's the funny
we'll
thing
get
is how much
into
they're
it.
pushing in the press that she supposedly wrote of this film.
Yeah, well, I can only tell of one scene. That
That's
was
kind of what one
absolutely
other
written
person
by
said
her.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. I guarantee you we're talking about the same scene.
Which is kind of hilarious. And I think they're really just pushing it to try and push this whole idea. Which, when are they going to, like, we've had, and this movie looks like it's going to do well. Venom looks like it's going to do well. As long as
theaters are
Venom,
coming back. These are good news.
Yeah, and this is something we talked about last night. Mike brought in an article about AMC, and going back to a lot of things that we've been saying for a while is that, you know, the theaters are going to maintain, as long as they can hang on, they're the ones that are going to have the upper hand here, and now they do, because the studios need them. They're not making the money they were hoping they were going to make after this whole thing went down. People are not sticking around. We know the churn is there with all these companies now, with Netflix, HBO Max, and
Disney,
the rest, Disney, and all of them. I mean, HBO Max least of all, probably, but still, the point being, they're hitting that ceiling, right? And this is something we've always said that was going to happen, because they weren't paying attention to how this all really worked, and it's too soon, too fast, too much, and that's what I said. And that's where we're at right now. AMC is making a pretty decent comeback, it sounds like. So, and didn't they shake the Wanda Group as well, Mike? You were saying?
Yeah, they did.
China sold out, so AMC is now American again, I think.
You're right. Yeah, they sold out. They have less than 1% of the total stock. The billionaire that essentially bought AMC to begin with, the Wanda Group, Dali and Wanda, that all went down several months ago. They divested themselves because the retail investors forced out the people that were trying to raid the company by providing a short squeeze, and they did it really, really well for a long, long time. And that elevated stock price allowed for the substantial retirement of debt, and they are holding nearly $2 billion in cash or cash equivalents right now. So they are in very, very good shape, even though they sit with about I think it's $600 million in debt that needs to be retired by 2024. So they're doing pretty well.
And from a finance perspective, it's not when companies like this, where they're based with a very heavy asset, they have lease obligations, or they own real estate like these big theaters, or they're in these long-term leases and they put a lot of capital infrastructure improvements. When they retire debt, when they're able to do two things, retire debt and increase their cash in their treasury, that is, and then you throw a third aspect on it, with related to the stock price. You're retiring your debt, your stock price goes up, and your cash reserves are high. You know what? That will go a long way to surviving your income dropping from things like, say, a pandemic and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, when the finance, people say, "Oh, well, people aren't going to the theaters anymore, and revenues are down. It's gonna go." Well, it's not like they're selling lemonade in the corner. They've got costs, and when they're able to retire debt, which improves their balance sheet, they're able to. Jesus Christ, they just took back interest rate notes that were out there. There were some secured notes. A secured note, for those of you who don't know what it is, means that it's a loan. Okay, and it's secured and tied to their assets, meaning it's like a car note, right? Like you don't pay your car note, your car gets repossessed. Well, they actually had some notes out there at 15% interest, okay, that were tied to some of their properties. And you know what they did? They believe in their business so much, they said, you know what? We're going to use the increased value of our stock price. We're going to turn it into cash, and we're going to take back some of those things. And arguably, is it a lot? Well, no, you're talking about retiring $35 million, in high interest debt. But you know what? That's a signal to the market. And an investor looks at that like, holy shit. Whoa. Okay. Hold on here. And a year ago, as in the article that Tom has up on the screen and Andre has up on the screen, let's just do a little, I don't want to nerd people out too much and get too, calculator oriented here. But just over a year ago, they're at $5 a share. Okay. They're barely struggling to get above $10 a share. And now they're like, what, 38? 35, 38, they're floating around, they might go north of 40. They might even hit 50. Who knows?
Well, if I tell you what, if the retail investors have their say, Mike, I mean, it's that whole stonks meme stock craze that was going on. I feel like, if people are paying attention out there, they've started to understand that essentially wealth is being robbed by certain types of financial folks, and they're tearing out these companies that a lot of funds are invested in, so people are fighting back financially. I mean, if the more and more retail investors get invested in companies like this, you can stave off some of the oligarchy construction that's being done by the very few. So we'll see.
I want to piggyback real quick, if I can, on Culture's comment right there, and I want to start with this first statement where you use the word retail investor. A retail investor, ladies and gentlemen in the chat stream, they're people like you and me. They're not these large institutional investors. They're retail investors, and look at what they did. They invested in AMC, and they invested in GameStop. And what does that mean? That means the average retail, meaning the average person, you and me, people like you and me, that we have Robinhood accounts or small Charles Schwab accounts or whatever platform we use on, and we're not sponsored by any of these people. I'm just using them as a comment, as an example. They basically think of this. A bunch of retail guys said, "Hey, you're not going to destroy our GameStop," and they said, "Hey, you're not going to destroy our movie theaters by shorting the stock." They said, "We value movie theaters. We value GameStop experience. And whether or not GameStop is a good company, bad company, or customer service, that's irrelevant. But it's what Culture just said right now. Retail individual investors grouped together, stood up and said, no, you're not going to do this." And it's made a difference.
All right, and we have I don't know if Andre, what the hell happened there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm back again. I just dropped out for 1 second there. But
okay, well, we do have a guest with us now.
We do. So let's bring our very special guest. Tom, will you do the honor?
Man, I want to be like when I grow up, Mr. Chris Gore. How you doing, sir?
Thanks, Tom. Welcome, everyone. Mexican.
Oh my God, the great Chris Gore is here. I should have brought something to get autographed. Oh, I'm fanboying out, Mr. Gore.
How's everybody doing? This is I was watching earlier. Got the really interesting analysis from Kamran. That was excellent.
Oh yeah.
That's always a blast.
But I was intrigued, Andre. You've seen James Bond. I have also.
I have. I know you loved it.
I did love it. What's shocking is how I feel like they've played the media, or I think the media has played like this whole thing. Like they want this thing to happen. They want James Bond to be replaced by, a person who doesn't look like the current incarnation of James Bond. The press really wants that, and that the movie does not do that at all. Yeah,
I think the movie did it at one point, and then the reshoots happened because the early reports were that the movie actually was going in the direction that the media was so desperate for. And as I've been saying in reference to our coverage of Dune, you have the same thing there. You actually have it from the studio. There you have the studio pointing out how incredibly woke and feminist and all stuff that the movie is. And it really isn't. It's no such thing. Yeah.
It isn't. Although you mentioned briefly, as I was struggling to get on, my apologies on some technical issues on my end, but you mentioned there is a speech that is given. I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a line about little men. And I'm like, oh, that was Phoebe wrote that. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's the thing she wrote. But I really feel like they brought her in specifically to inoculate the film from criticism, right? They can say, well, we had a female writer and it's, Phoebe and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And so that kind of like inoculates the film from criticism from certain elements in the media. And I think that was the reason she was brought in. And there is that one speech, so it's kind of a cringe line, but overall it's pretty much checkbox, your Bond movie. In fact, it's probably the most romantic of the Bond films, right? There's a really serious romance in it.
I think she might have had a little bit something to do with some of that as well. But I agree with you. I think that they mostly had the story there to begin with, and then they brought her in to do some touch-ups here and there. And I think that many of her changes they may have discarded. I think we see very little of her contributions in the final film. Yeah, there's obviously the little man thing That's it. That's one thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if the scene of Bond lying on the floor in a crying and begging for forgiveness, if she wrote some of the lines in there as well, I also would not surprise me. And yes, that does happen, but there's a context to it. But still, someone were desperate to have James Bond apologize.
Right.
And he apologizes in a groveling way that makes Patrick Stewart and Picard look manly.
Oh man!
Considering the context, I know the scene.
There's a context. There's a context. But someone took delight in writing and directing that scene.
Yeah, but it doesn't ruin the whole film. I mean, it's just like it's a brief thing, and you're like, all right, fine. I feel like they're throwing bones out, but overall,
I know, but that one scene right there, that's going to loads of people are going to have that bone stuck in their throat.
But it doesn't. Here's my argument. It doesn't, diminish all the other aspects of the film that are completely
that's
100% Bond. I mean, the Cuba scene is just like so great. That opening Italian, which you've seen in the trailer with the car, that action scene is just a nail biter. The fact that it's got all these amazing villains, right? Like not just, of course, the main villain, but like all these sort of side villains where they don't really have a name, but they have a distinction, right? Like kind of like Jaws, right? Like Jaws is one that, from the Roger Moore era that I think people really like. There's a character that's similar to that. And I don't want to ruin anything because that's not the trailer, but
he was badass.
And the thing is there are, if you look at the past, look, I've got the James Bond collection. I've been watching them from the beginning. It's amazing like how dated some of them are, but it's like, Bond is great. I mean, he's such he does have like women in those films that end up being like double agents or try to best him. And that's where I feel like there's this rivalry between the new 007, which is kind of he's very dismissive of her, which is great. Like there's like a couple of scenes where it's just like, yeah, right. Like he really schools her in the film. So
he totally does. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, there's no question who is the better agent.
Yeah, and
there's no question who is always one step ahead, and that's James
one step ahead. And so I just think that like it's been overplayed in the media, and I think that's what people are kind of upset by. And they're going to see this and go, "Oh, this was a good James Bond film." Like it's not as if women have not tried to best James Bond in the past. They don't always win in the end, right? I mean, look at your Sean Connery or just the Bond films of the past, like those kinds of conflicts occur. So I think there's a hypersensitivity to this now. Like, for example, one of the Star Wars movies, there's a character, this female character, and she rips a gun out of the hands of this pilot and says, "Get into the garbage chute, flyboy." And nobody thinks that's a big deal. It's also a great character, Princess Leia. Of course, I'm kidding. Surprised you're not. Nobody's laughing. I'm just saying these kinds of things happen, and I feel like we're so hypersensitive to it now because of just the current cultural climate that it's
But you have to understand why people are. I mean, for the past decade, so many icons have been shit on and deliberately humiliated and taken to task for being male, for being masculine, and for being white, and for those that are all three at the same time, they've gotten it really bad, and it's absolutely been a point in quite a few mainstream movies the past. Not the full past decade, but certainly the past 4 or 5 years. Absolutely. So I understand that people are like gun shy, but of course the problem is when you start seeing things that aren't there and become too hypersensitive in a way, and that's where many people are right now. But one has to understand that didn't happen on its own. There's a reason why many people have that instant reaction right now, because many people were so traumatized by Luke Skywalker, by He-Man more recently, by seeing their heroes so emasculated so badly. And James Bond is something special to a great many people. So, and with many of the rumors that have been around this film leading up to it, the first trailer, let's not forget about that. you have to understand why many people are going to be anxious about, is this going to be the Last Jedi all over again?
Well, I first of all, I agree with you. You're right. We have seen these characters altered in a way that I think is disconcerting for sure. So they built up that expectation. I am just pleased that this is in many ways a traditional Bond film, right? With the exception of, and I don't think we can talk about it, Andre, like maybe not the last third of the film we should not discuss.
We probably shouldn't. What I will say though, we shouldn't talk about that, but we can talk a little bit about the rest without going into too many spoilers. Before that, I have to give a huge kudos and a shout out to a fellow countryman of mine and a long-time friend of our mutual acquaintance, Robert Meyer Burnett, namely Terje Tiberius Mørk, who, as many of you will know, is Burnett's Norwegian friend. And he's the reason I got to see the movie today. It was actually his ticket I used, because for the longest of time, it looked like I wouldn't be able to make it. And then because of illness in his family, he couldn't make it. But then he sent me his ticket, so I could go with his ticket. So Terje Tiberius Mørk, recent member as of today. Thank you so much, brother and fellow countryman, and look forward to hearing his reactions on the movie. So massive kudos and thanks to him. And with that, my thoughts on the movie was right up until the final act, the thing that we can't really talk about. I actually think it is a really solid movie. It's not perfect. It's not the absolute best of the Craig movies. I'm not going to say that because I don't think it was, but it's a really solid Bond movie. And then I have big problems with the very final act of it, and that's my mini review right there.
Can I say on that thing that we can't talk about? I'll say this: when you go see a Bond film, there is kind of a checklist, right? You're going to see Bond in a tuxedo. You're going to see Bond have.
I have to say, it was fun how it was like on that scene with like, okay, it's like you mentioned like checklist, and the scene where he has the tuxedo is like, right. Oh, by the way, here's your tuxedo because you have to. No, that was actually funny.
It's great, but there is a checklist of things that are expected. You expect to see in a Bond film. You expect like a new gadget. You expect like the minor characters to have, you expect some level of, you sexy women. There's just like, there are things that you just always see in a Bond film. What I really enjoyed about this film, because it is the last of the Daniel Craig Bond films, is there are things that happen in this Bond film that have never happened before in a Bond film that are very unexpected. And that's, I really just can't say much more than that. But and thank you to Nerd Eruption on the, John Schnepp was a friend of mine for years, and so
I have to
awesome,
give
brilliant man. Yeah.
You know what? Something occurred to me actually earlier today. John Schnepp, in his final days, he made a prediction, and it looked like that prediction wasn't going to come true at the time, but now history has proven him right. I remember this. He predicted just a couple of weeks before the end that Venom was going to be in the MCU.
Yeah.
And this was before the first movie came out. Didn't happen then, but it happened now.
Mm-hmm.
So history proved him right. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. But I have not seen Venom yet, but I have seen the Many Saints.
Andre, spoilers.
Okay, spoiler alert.
It's been going around. Yeah, I knew about this like a month ago. Sorry.
Yeah, I did see Many Saints of New York. You brought it up earlier. It's terrible. I mean, it's a pilot for a TV show that never got greenlit, and I feel like they decided like, well, let's not waste this money. We need quote content, and so they pushed it out as a piece of content. I did see it in the theater, which I regret. I'd rather have seen it. Here's what I would recommend. I would recommend seeing Many Saints of New York while you have something to do around your house. So it's a movie you could put on in the background while you fold your laundry. I think that would be a better use of your time, but it's just so bizarre. They're just like so many better mob movies and mob television series for that matter, that it's just not worth. You're like, what? I mean, and I'm not a Sopranos super fan. I'm like, why does this? I mean, why do I even care? And there's even a weird thing. I'm just one small bit about it is Ray Liotta plays this character in it that you end up finding is a twin. He has like a twin brother in prison. So it's just bizarre. So Ray Liotta plays two characters in it, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's laughable. And then they did try to make it woke. They did try to add this sort of like almost like BLM style, like riot that's happening as part of the story in the late 60s. And it just doesn't, it's just like, what does this have to do with Sopranos? They're just trying to like, clearly this is a television pilot that got shelved. It was a prequel to Sopranos. That's what it is. It's awful garbage I mean, like I say, if you want to keep that movie on in the background, I wouldn't sit and watch it. It doesn't deserve your attention.
Doesn't justify it being a theatrical release, you're saying?
Not at all. Not at all. That's maybe one of the good things that HBO Max has, right? It's like these movies that like, well, I wouldn't really care about seeing The Conjuring 3 in the theater, so it's on HBO Max. What the hell? Dune for that matter, though, I don't want to see that on HBO Max until I've seen it at least a couple times on IMAX. So yeah. And so, Andre, I'm very jealous that you've seen Dune.
It's so good. The more I think about it, the better it is in my mind. Apart from the score, don't get me started on the score.
It's not the strongest score that Hans Zimmer's ever done. There's like sort of like pieces of it, but it's his
weakest. I would say it's his absolute weakest score ever.
Yeah, I've been. I mean, the whole score is actually on YouTube.
I know. I tried to listen to it.
Yeah, Watercolor Music is the channel. You can find it. But it's just like, I'm like, where's it's just not. It sort of meanders, like. But I mean, maybe he's sort of saving it because I mean, there's so many other.
Saving it for what? This was Dune.
Yeah, I know.
Was the time to deliver his absolute best work of this year.
I'm dying to see Dune, and I heard that music, and I could go down to my garage and I could hum. I could grab my socket set, and I could grab maybe like a piece of old canvas lying around, and I think I could come up with a good soundtrack that matches that.
Since Chris seems to like my analogies, like the Taco Bell and McDonald's and that kind of stuff, I'll tell you this. This is my impression of Zimmer. He started as the Beatles and wound up Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
Because you listen to a lot of his earlier scores, great stuff. Nowadays, like I tried listening to the Dune score, it is nothing but noise, like just noises. It's just like ting, tiddling, and then boom, boom, like what the. I still feel like I got buyer's remorse from the Dark Knight soundtrack to this day.
Oh boy.
Well, anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that. But anyway, I wanted to point out to this comment from Reservoir Frog and to everyone. Yeah, we do try to pay attention to the chat and highlight really good comments, but it flies by really quickly, so we can't get everything. But we do try.
And as far as the member chats, I think we're going to try and see them again, but
we'll try.
Fix this badly.
And, put a message in chat. Anybody that did a member chat, just at Mexican Iron Man me and put whatever you put in there, and I will bring it back up, and I'll make sure the guys get to it.
Yeah, because the problem is with the member chats that that YouTube launched the feature without making a repository for them. So if we don't catch them the second they come on screen, they're kind of like
one of the things for everybody in chat stream, I produce tons of shows. We got two problems. One problem is that by the time you guys are hearing us, we're already at least 20 to 45 seconds ahead of the feed, and we're not in alignment with the feed. And then number two is the fact that these things go by so fast. What we're looking at is not what you guys see. So it's really weird. But please just add Mexican Iron Man and I'll get you.
Yeah. And I just have to say to the SSB candidates that thanks for giving us another chance. And if anyone called you a Star Wars fanboy, then sorry if it came off wrong. I don't know who did it or when, but glad that you're still with us. But the comment that was there was that the James Bond movie is actually really good, and people shouldn't be judging it without having seen it.
Yeah.
And that's a point of view that I can get behind, because I really enjoyed the movie up until the final act, and there it's the only thing that I would say, I will draw like one comparison to Man of Steel, with the whole breaking of, with him breaking Zod's neck. And the issue there wasn't so much that with the breaking of the neck itself, because in the situation, Superman had no other choice. No, don't say it. I don't want you to say it. I don't want you to say it. But all I want to point out there, that my issue with this is the same thing as with Superman breaking the neck. The problem was that the writers created that situation in the first place. And that is my issue with the ending of this movie. It's not that it's inconsistent or anything like that. It's that the writers created that situation, which I disagree should have been created in the first place. And that's my issue with it. Outside of that, up until that point, it's actually a really cool movie. And all the stuff that you worried about, it being overtly woke. I mean, there's woke elements to it, absolutely. But it is a pretty entertaining movie, and Bond is Bond in it. Also, I have to say, there's another aspect of the geography that I appreciated with it, because Chris, you know, I'm Norwegian, and so anytime a movie is filmed and takes place in Norway, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's the best looking of the Bond films in terms of just its beauty, and
that I agree with. It's a visually stunning movie. Also, you know what I never ever would have expected either?
Yeah.
I would never have expected to hear my language from the TV screen in a James Bond movie, which I did, and to have a cameo by Fantorangen. And none of you are going to know what that means, but to all Norwegians listening, Fantorangen makes a cameo, a speaking cameo. Freaking believe it or not. So yeah,
it's the best. I mean, I don't know. It is the best looking, and I would say that the action, I think, is just incredibly clever. And I don't know. I think it's the best Daniel Craig has ever been in this role. Where would you rank it, Andre, of the Daniel Craig Bond films? Where would you rank this one?
I would rank it number third. Number one for me is Casino Royale. And number two is Skyfall, and then this would be number three. So I would rank it number three of the Bond movies, of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. I think that's final. I don't think it's going to go up anymore on that list.
I would need to rewatch them, but I mean, really, I remember being bored during parts of those previous Daniel, the ones you mentioned. There's just sort of scenes that drag, or things that are overly complex that I just think are unnecessary. Chris Nolan loves to do that. He likes to make some aspects of it, and then he always has to include a character that is sort of like Captain Narrative. Let me just explain it out loud for those not paying attention. But this, I think, has to be my favorite of the Daniel Craig, simply because we're seeing things in this Bond film that have never happened in a Bond film. Like I say, that checklist, you're almost expecting it, right? And there are, the weaker Bond films, I would put the Roger Moore ones. I know people will hate me for saying that, but like his were more on the comedic Bond. I would put that at sort of like, what Adam West was to Batman. I would say that Roger Moore was to his run of the James Bond films. So they were not necessarily my favorite, but I really like that this film took risks. There are those couple of those cringe lines, but I'm like, well, what are you going to do? I kind of feel like it's just like overall, it's like 98% woke free. And then there's like this little 2% of like, but what are you going to do? Right. I mean, but I would rank this probably my favorite of the Daniel Craig. I know there'll be a lot of debate about that, but I just think that the action and the beauty, and then also like, just like I said, these sort of plot lines that we've never seen in a Bond film before make it different and make it stand out.
Right. No, and I wasn't going to talk about the end of Bond, Andre. What I was going to say was, no, the problem everybody had with Man of Steel wasn't that he killed Zod. It was that he waited till 10,000 other people were dead and then finally decided he was going to kill Zod over the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, no, I
That's
agree. I
the
would get
problem everybody
completely
had.
because, like, no, the problem was that from my point of view, was that when he realized that, okay, if I break their helmet and then they're momentarily dazed and confused, and these are trained soldiers,
Which I
so the
really
moment
used
that they
quite a
get
bit in
over
my
it.
script doctrine,
My
by the
issue
way.
was that he didn't break the helmet of every single one of them and immediately snap the necks of every last one of them instantly afterwards. I mean, my issue with that movie, as it was written, wasn't that he just broke the neck of Sod, but that he didn't break the neck of all of them. But again, that's because of how it was written, and I can see why people who are bigger fans of Superman than myself, why they would have an issue with it. But that's kind of like what I think.
It's not the killing aspect; it's the waiting so goddamn long. That's the part that bothers me.
For me, yes, it's the waiting so long.
And like in my script doctoring of that, I do use the fact that they get disoriented when he does fuck up their masks as part of the story. Although I don't have him kill all of them other than Zod. He just throws the rest in his spaceship in a cell.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
and
that's my
while I can bring it up here, we also have to say welcome to Daryl the Derelict, another new member. We've gotten so many new members today. That is amazing. And he also says, deploy the likes. So yes, smash that like, everyone. We got Chris Gore here. So hit like for Chris Gore.
And Daryl the Derelict's one of my good buddies. He's recently launched his YouTube channel and he does late night streams. He's a great guy.
Go check out Daryl the Derelict's YouTube channel.
Sounds like a derelict to me.
So yeah, but yeah. Anyway, and we're trying to discuss this as much as we can without spoiling anything.
I see some people are kind of doing some stuff in the chat. Please don't. Like it's not cool. We're trying to be as spoiler free as possible here, guys. So let's keep it that way. Although Andre did kind of dump a little bit on Venom earlier, and shouldn't have. But hey, it's
sorry about that. But
it's out here, so
I'm just jealous because that's one movie that I actually have to wait a month and a half before seeing, and that's one Marvel movie I'm really looking forward to.
Kind of like Mexican Iron Man is sitting here waiting for Bond next week, and I'm sitting here waiting for Dune for 3 more weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like dying on the Dune thing. I'm just dying.
Yeah, I think it's like really horrible. Like I get to see Dune 5 weeks before any of you, which is cool for me. But I don't want you guys to have to wait for 5 weeks. I want us all to see it at the same time. We can all talk about it and enjoy it, all of us together.
It's weird. It's like we're back in the pre-2000s again with movies. It's like,
that's exactly what it's like, right, Culture?
Right, yeah, but see, they've learned their lesson. See, we've been trying to teach them this lesson for a long time, Tom. We've been saying you're missing out on the 4 other income streams, and you're also missing out on the hype that you can build in markets that are going to consume something first. So it's the the whole release, a particular film like Dune internationally, in 24 markets, now up to more than that, to get the ball rolling. So you have this giant like war chest going in here that creates buzz. Same thing with Bond, right? You want to release things in a way that they can't, be subjected to piracy. And, if the only other way to get around it is to release everything simultaneously, and then you don't have some of the marketing that you get from word of mouth when things are great. So, I mean, and you also miss out again on all those other income streams. To me, the day and date experiment is a failure. And I think that the studios are finally coming around to that, especially Disney.
Yeah. And I'm like, I understand staggered releases to a point, but not 5 freaking weeks.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is a bit odd in this day and age, but Valiant Renegade does point out, though, if you want the spoilers, go check out Mr. H's video today. Please, no spoilers here, though. Great show, folks. I wish I could have made it today. Well, thank you, Valiant, for the super chat. And yeah, try to be courteous, guys. That's all we ask, not to ruin anybody else's possible fun.
Yeah, exactly. We already spoiled we didn't really spoil Venom because I actually haven't seen it. Only like some continuity stuff, but let's try to avoid spoiling Bond too much. But Chris, getting back into Bond, because clearly you really liked it. As for me, I would rank it third of all the Daniel Craig movies after Casino Royale and Skyfall. Where would you rank it?
I would say it's my favorite, specifically because it broke the format, right? Like what we come to expect in a Bond film. There were a lot of unexpected things in this, and I appreciate that it took those kind of risks. I feel terrible, like, talking around all of this stuff. I'm looking forward to the movie finally being out. We can all have a spoiler-filled discussion, and then I can defend my position. But I think it is my favorite of the Daniel Craig Bond, just because the ones you mentioned I think are very good, but there are flaws in them that just stand out to me. So, but yeah, and that's where. Unfortunately, I gotta go. I'm so sorry. Like I didn't expect to be on. I was enjoying your discussion as I do always. But I gotta run because I gotta do another thing. I'm doing some conference at the London Film Festival or something, some live stream.
Oh, okay. Well, cool.
Yeah,
but anyway, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you hopping in.
Thank you. Just love it. Like you guys have just been killing it lately. And it's just been amazing conversation. I appreciate being a part of the conversation. So thank you so much. I will see you guys. I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
You have to come back come back next week when the movie has opened in the US, and we can all talk about it in a full spoiler discussion.
I got 20 movies to watch by then.
And Steven makes
Tom, you have to watch all the Craig movies.
Yeah, this is something I will just say, that what you need to do is at the end of every this is like for James Bond nerds, but at the end of every James Bond movie, sometimes they would even tell you the name of the movie, right? Then what the next film was going to be. Yep. So stay till the very end of the credits. Stay till the very, very, very end of the credits. It's like after all the and it's a long credit sequence. But yeah, I love that. I love that reference. So take care, everyone.
Yeah, I was just about to say it myself. Thank you, Jason, and take care, Chris. Hopefully we'll talk again real soon.
Later. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure to have Chris join us. Thank you so much for that.
I love this channel.
Yes, indeed.
So much good stuff on this channel.
Yeah. Actually, we have a really good question for all the panel as well. The Whitfield report says, "What do you guys think of Craig's Bond being in its own self-contained series rather than following Total Bond's canon? # not a spoiler." And yeah, I guess most people are aware of it, but for those that may not be or haven't seen, all of the Bond movies prior to the first Daniel Craig movie are kind of in the same continuity, kind of like Marvel continuity, where
I was gonna say, somebody explained it to me,
movies are like you just kind of forget them from memory as they get like too far old, but they still kind of happened. Apart from the first Daniel Craig movie, which is a complete break and a total reboot, Batman Begins style.
We talked about this on Midnight Edge After Dark, Tom, remember?
Yeah, somebody had also explained it to me like you can kind of look at it like the first two Craig movies happened, and then you can kind of surmise that like similar events of all the other movies happened in between.
No, you can't.
No.
But like, yeah.
No, you can't. No,
okay, well,
you can completely forget the existence of all the other movies. The Daniel Craig movies are complete separate, and none of the other movies ever happened.
Right.
None of no similar events
too
happened.
Goddamn confusing. I didn't even really like the first 5 movies all that much.
Oh, don't get me started on you. All right, so I'm a hardcore Bond fan, Andre, as Tom knows from Midnight Edge After Dark, and so it's culture. So I'll start and I'll let culture dovetail in. As well, because I think he's a pretty good fan.
I just give up.
So, stop it. We're gonna watch. I'm on your couch, for God's sake. I'm on your sofa. We're watching these things, buddy.
I'd rather watch Crocodile Dundee.
I'm gonna watch that too. Because
one doesn't have to rule out the other.
Exactly.
There you go.
So here's the way I'm gonna look at it. And my brother's an even bigger fan than I am. But So let's take a look at this. We have all the great books, which are all awesome. If you haven't read them, go back and read them. If you look at all the Bond movies, unbelievably, I actually like them all. I've seen them all multiple times. I mean, like 5, 10 times each, more at least, different ones. Here's the way I took the Daniel Craig stuff. And unlike Jesse, I don't have a huge negative reaction to Daniel Craig. I understand where he's coming from, but here's the way I look at it. All of these Daniel Craig movies, the way I look at them is they just took bits. Andre's correct. The first one was like a reboot kind of thing. But all of the other ones that have happened, they've sort of picked, it's almost like a salad bar. They salad barred it. They took different things.
This is true. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
If you were to go into a restaurant and you look at an all-you-can-eat salad bar and all of the Bond stuff is there, and you want to start with your lettuce and then you go to your, whatever's next, and then maybe your croutons and your, are all the way on the far end of the right side of the salad bar. That is what we had. Now, when you have the Daniel Craig thing, it's almost like you're taking a fresh, clean plate. You're walking up and you're dumping on your plate. Aside from the first one, which was a reboot, you're dumping everything on your plate that you want and grabbing and picking together something and making yourself a salad. I enjoy all the Daniel Craig movies. I really do. In fact, of all the James Bond movies, I've watched them as much, if not more, than the other ones. Jiminy Crickets, yes, Solace was probably the weakest one, but good God, I love Spectre. Maybe it's because it started with the Day of the Dead, but. That's how you got to look at these. They're on a completely different. And the only way I can sort of reconcile myself with the timeline stuff is that maybe, as opposed to what JJ did, where he created this whole new Kelvin timeline, we have an entirely different universe. Think of it as another dimension of Bond, where they're
Batman Begins. It's Batman Begins
yes.
to Michael Keaton.
Yes, agreed. Done.
Yeah.
Culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look, I mean, I'm going to say the same things that I've said about this multiple times, and it's some of the things that have always frustrated me about it. I mean, this wasn't really a James Bond thing, right? In my opinion, I mean, Daniel Craig is more Jason Bourne than he is James Bond, and he did make Bond his own thing. But I always have felt like each of the actors is like a new representation of our protagonist, and I've
of the times.
Yeah, exactly. And I've enjoyed them all, but they all have the same elements. And Chris Gore kind of went down what the menu is, right? The menu on a Bond film, you're always going to see those things. And as long as you stick with the formula, Bond is always going to be successful. Saying that, he's irrelevant because of being in a specific time or not. He's not. He's a man's man. And with Daniel Craig early on, and with Casino Royale, I was willing to accept that. And then Quantum of Solace was horrific. From there, I didn't just get crazy excited until Skyfall. And then I'm one of the weird people and thought Spectre kind of went downhill. I want this film.
Everyone thought that. You're not weird for thinking that.
Yeah, I want this film to be good. I want all Bond films to be good, but I feel like you can place each of these Bonds in their own frame and be totally satisfied. It's why both Mike and I have this box set amongst a whole lot of other probably sets from VHS tape to DVDs of every Bond film, right? Yep. And it's something I go back to, and I find comfort in, but outside of Casino Royale, and this is how I judge all films, can I go back and watch it again? Is there rewatchability? And outside of Casino Royale, not really. Maybe I'll go back and watch Skyfall, but Spectre is a complete turnoff, and Quantum of Solace was garbage. So
that's it's a shame that I agree, those two movies, they are really stains on the Daniel Craig era. So you agree with me then that Casino Royale is the best of the bunch
so far? Yeah, and until
I agree with you also too. I mean,
until I see the new one, that would have to be where I land. So I don't. And I have not had a particular affinity towards him playing Bond. He's done a fine job at trying to be his version of Bond, but again, it's too Jason Bourne for me. There's not enough gadgets. There's maybe it'll be different in this film. I don't know.
That could lead us into. If we want to deep dive, that gets into who was the writing crew on each one, and then the different. What's happened is that you have you have who is the stewards of the property, of the intellectual property. And one of the reasons why in so many classic Bond films we have the same storyline elements in there, which is what you and I are talking about, culture, the storyline elements, the things that make him a classic Bond. Well, when you have the migration and the some of the writers that came in and out and the different producers that put their hand in it, frankly, I'm surprised that it wasn't bastardized much more in all of these Craig films were even way worse than they could have been, frankly.
Right.
So, do we want to focus on glass half empty or glass half full? I'm going to take glass half full on Daniel Craig and all of the Bonds, because I think this entire franchise could have been eviscerated beyond recognition, similar to what's happened with us with other fandoms that we've seen eviscerated.
Right. I want this Bond to be good, and I'm looking forward to seeing the film. So I'm tired of
what
the
day do you
weird
see it next week? Do you have your
releases.
ticket next week? What day do you see
No. I'll probably try to fit it into a Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in there. I'll try and fit it in. We'll see.
I like that thing you have on screen there. Just have to say.
Yeah. I just this was the thing that bothered this thing. That was the thing that bothered me the other day. I'm like, no, it can't be this. It can't.
What, mean him sitting on the back and stuff like that?
Yeah.
There's a context there.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a context, and it's not as bad as you would think at all. There's a context.
Yeah, but the internet
context is not bad at all. There are other things that is going to bother you much more, like the scene with Bond live being crying on the floor and apologizing. You're going to have much more issues with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward. Like I said, I'm looking forward to see it, which I wasn't before. But we'll see what happens. And I'm like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic based on what you and Chris Gore have said. So there you go.
Yeah.
And we have
just remember when we get to the end, that wasn't my favorite part of it. But yeah.
Good.
We also have another member of the crew, one of my partners in crime over on me, Jesse. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We figured we might as well just let you come on in and say what you want to say about Bond.
Yeah, I was just cleaning up around here. I need to get a maid, but I don't trust nobody. Daniel Craig. I wish that I liked him, but it's the fact that he's so stone-faced. It's like watching a rock soldier from Ninja Turtles in a suit.
You know what he reminds me of?
I don't know if
he reminds me of a KGB agent.
Yes,
from the Dalton era of movies.
Dude, wouldn't he be great as the Russian guy from Russia with Love?
Any
like kicking the
guy.
Shit out of Bond.
I mean, he looks more like a Russian KGB agent than he does.
He's way too serious.
Bond is all about the women. He's Bond villain than he does Bond.
Bond is a smooth operator, and he's all about the women. Can you see Daniel Craig really relating to people like that?
Where was the cocky smirk that existed on every other previous iteration of Bond, right? Because it was always there, right? In the one-liners, the quips, everything that came out, everything that was presented from Sean Connery and George Lazenby and Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan all had that thing. It was part of his charm, right? The boyish charm he had, the mischievous smirk, if you want to call it that, whatever. But it just
that's what made Bronson so popular as Bond, because he was able to take all of that charm from all the previous guys and actually make it into one thing, kind of. And
he kind of did. Bond. Yeah, he kind of did. Yeah, and you know what? His motorcycle scene on that BMW. Somebody,
with the helicopter.
When he's riding the motorcycle and they're handcuffed together with I forget her name. She's an incredible actress. Anyway, that was a great scene, right? And compare that to what we've seen. The internet's undefeated, by the way. The memes that came about from the scooter to the other motorcycle scenes with all the other Bonds. That's just a weird juxtaposition. And I know it has some context, but the internet's undefeated when it comes to that stuff. So anyway, I'm sorry, Jesse, I didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
No, not one bit. No, because it's like when you look at Pierce Brosnan, right? The one that he reminds me the most of is Roger Moore. And Roger Moore is taking over the range for the great Sean Connery, who originated the role. And come on, man, I don't know anybody who's a bigger pimp than Sean Connery in the 60s. Come on.
He was so good that I seem to recall that Ian Fleming himself, after having seen Dr. No, retroactively decided that James Bond, even in the books, had always been Scottish in his honor. So he kind of like
That's awesome.
remade the literary James Bond in the image of Sean Connery.
I like it.
He was that good.
And it's even like, look at Roger Moore. Roger Moore is completely different than Connery, right? Total different look, total different vibe, total different way of carrying himself. But he pulled it off. Why? Because he was also pimp. He was just pimping a different way. Now, Daniel Craig, he just seems kind of blah.
Ambivalent.
Look at it this way. If you're going out with your buddies and you all want to go get with women, right? And you have all the bonds with you. Daniel Craig isn't the one who's going to bring more to the table. He's just kind of there.
Yeah. As a guy who tries to be smooth and into the ladies, I'm going to say that, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would be that guy that if we went out in a pack, he'd be the guy. Okay, you stand there and try to look pretty with your suit. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go to the bar and buy these girls a drink.
You stand there with your pecs and your abs and wear that suit real nice, and then we'll do the talking.
Yeah, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get a tortilla variety pack platter. I'll be right back.
We could Cicero this guy, but that's about it.
Cicero de Bergerac. Well done.
How in the name of Hellfire Tarnation are you doing that?
Yeah, I don't know how he's doing that either. This is StreamYard.
I got that from Remy last night.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And I think it was Cyrano de Bergerac, not Cicero. That's someone else. And
see,
and
you know actual books.
Yeah, and the Cicero is someone else, and the pronunciation is, shall we say, sanitized. Don't say how it was originally pronounced, because we don't want to offend anyone using.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Huh.
But
The only thing this needs now is just like a little sound effect, just like a little.
We're going to get ice cream.
Brilliant. But anyway, that scene there, in context of the movie, really ain't that bad. It looks far worse than it is, and the stuff that's going to piss you off, you haven't seen yet. So yeah.
And so we do have some members chats and super chats. Speaking of member chats, from Merlin's ID, I always do that. I always say ID.
Yeah, Merlin's id.
Merlin's id. In the immoral words of Razor Fist, Hollywood hates you. It is perfectly fine for you to hate them back. Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not somebody who's going to be easily won over. Right, like even before all this woke crap, the reason, the thing that got me here to where we're at now was me going, I'm sick of the McDonaldization of movies. Movies suck. Sick of all these remakes, reboots, rebootquels, and everything else, and it just got sick and tiring. So, like, yeah, this is just the next evolutionary step, and yeah, it's to me with Hollywood, it's what have you done for me lately? You know, that's why I didn't rush out to see Venom last night. As much as I kind of wanted to, I was just like, I don't want to be disappointed. And
see,
that's the
Venom
problem.
and all these new movies, I'm specifically waiting for when I have time to see them at the local cinema down the street, so that it actually gets to business, because it's been closed for months.
Mine's been open, and this is now my 7th week of going to be going to the movies now. Yep,
That's nice. I used to go to movies constantly with my son. I got a whole envelope full of ticket stubs. Then it just ended.
Yeah, I used to go almost every weekend, like Mike, like once or twice a week sometimes.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that was it though. Like back then, it was like the chances of me being disappointed by a film were pretty slim, right? Nowadays, it's like, which one am I actually gonna like?
I honestly reached my tipping point last Father's Day, because I went to see that new Incredibles movie with my son, and it was just all about how the father was a moron.
And I just I'm sorry to do this as a quick thing. Everybody, if you sent a super chat, a member chat, or you become a member, tag me at Mexican Iron Man. And if you haven't seen
we got the super chats.
We got all the super chats. Yeah. So just member chats. Super chats, we have a repository for, so that's no issue. Just member chats.
Member chats.
Yeah, super chats, we have everything off, so that's fine. In fact, let's go through a couple of those.
Before we do, though, Nick and Fame was curious if you're feeling any better. Andre says you sound better than you were earlier in the week. Probably sounds much better than you did on the video we dropped too.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
I've actually felt pretty good all along because, like, this is again, I do not have the virus of unknown origin. This is just a completely regular thing that happens, and unfortunately, it's gotten like stuck in my nose and it's messed up my voice.
Did you
But
get
I
a
felt
Z pack?
You mean is that like vitamin C?
Like a 5-day antibiotic pack?
No, nothing at all.
You should ask for one of those. Knock it right out of you. Forget all about it.
Okay, yeah, no, I've taken some vitamin C supplements and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. I'm not just letting it run its course. So yeah, no, I've been pretty fine the whole time. Honestly, I was like knocked out a little bit like here 2 weeks ago, but now it's like leaving the system. Thank freaking God. I just need to get my voice back.
Yeah. Planner Aspect argues that Incredibles 1, he wasn't a good father, but that's the point. He became a good father in the second one.
So you're going to release this on Father's Day, where literally,
I don't know about that, because
isn't that being a moron?
Isn't that kind of the whole first arc of the first movie?
And in the first movie, at least he was competent.
Well,
I know these are children's movies, but it's inundation of children.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but remind me if I'm wrong. Like, isn't that part of the point of the first movie is that he learns not to lie and be a jerk to his family and all that kind of shit, even though he was trying to do the right thing?
Yeah. So then, beginning of the second movie, you learn nothing. The first movie meant nothing, and now you're back to square one. And
I mean, I didn't hate
Mr. Mom is a moron
too,
should have been the name of the movie, but whatever.
That's where I got to it. Like, just
then it was all just the wife was like, "Oh, you could do everything by yourself, wham, and blah 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 blah." Fuck you.
Here's my problem.
Give my money back.
Here's my problem with Pixar movies. You just hit the nail on the head. I love them and they're great for the most part, but they're not as original as everybody likes to make them out to be.
Correct.
Every one of them is a ripoff of another story.
The animation programs they have are ridiculous. They could show the fibers on your sweater, but it's all goes back to the writing. You could have the technology to make the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park look like somebody made them in their basement, right? But if you don't have a story to tell, who cares? It's like a bunch of kids out in a multimedia class who just got their hands on a camera. What should we film? Oh, let's film a fight scene. Well, why? I don't know, because it's what we figure we could probably pull off and do.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to get down a deep rabbit hole of Pixar, but no.
Yeah. We have some more super chats to go through here as well.
Super chats. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And one that we can bring up on screen is from Beach Lover, who wonders, what do you think about the new Bond song? I find it boring and without power and energy. I actually heard it for the first time.
I haven't heard it.
I heard it for the first time today. And I heard it while watching the opening credits for the movie itself. I've already forgotten it. I couldn't hum it for you if my life depended on it. I agree with you. Boring and without power and without energy. So boring. Really, really boring. That's what I think about it.
Well, the damn thing came out a year ago.
What?
The damn thing came out a year ago.
Yeah, well, I still don't remember it. So that's how exciting it is.
I listen to it now.
Saw it in the big screen today, but tremendously boring. So what do you guys think?
I haven't liked it. I haven't liked it
either.
since it came out. It's not.
And I actually don't hate Billie Eilish, but like I don't think she's the greatest thing that everybody says she is, and she needs to learn how to actually sing. And I'm not saying she doesn't have a voice. What I'm saying is all she does is whisper sing.
Yeah, she's an interesting character because on some point she seems to be like right on, but she's young as shit. I think that's
exactly that's the problem. Yeah, she needs to, and that's the other thing is I'm not trying to stick up for anything like that, but I do kind of feel sorry for her in a way. Like she's growing up in a very bad time right now to deal with being the new Madonna, right? Like she is not being allowed to do anything without being under a fucking microscope right now. And I'm with Ram Bam here. She was way too young to be singing a Bond theme. I predicted this.
I just followed her on Instagram because she lost 100,000 subscribers. I saw a thing because she wore a potato sack outfit.
Yeah.
So I was like, I support them titties, and I followed her.
She said a lot of stupid shit, but she's also been dealing with a lot of stupid shit. So I'll give her a pass on a few things. But I said this. I predicted she was going to be the one to do this song, and I said then she's going to do a shitty job because she's not old enough yet. You need somebody who has a little bit of experience to be doing a Bond song. There has to be some soul to it, like the best ones that we all know. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be somebody who can belt something out. I mean, Duran Duran, the View to a Kill song, the You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever. These are very mature, powerful voices that are making these songs. It's a theme. You are literally a theme for an entire franchise, and it has to be reinvented.
All right, I got why you guys are all bored by this song. First off, she doesn't start singing until 27 or 28 seconds into the song, which is way too long of an intro for a movie. Okay. By that time, we should be wrapping it up. But the song, it's very melancholy and slow with a melodic piano line. So she sings down close to that voice, because in music, each different line, or like a guitar and a bass, they're called voices. Every different line is a voice. So the two voices are moving with each other, right? What she should have done was be more like a Freddie Mercury, where it's like, okay, now that I have my bass line, now I have to go above it so that there's
she's not experienced enough for that yet.
Yeah, because like when you it's like bookending it, and then there's all this room in the middle, and that's when you fill in your other voices to bring emotion into it later, and they don't do that because they don't give themselves the room to move.
Kind of like the Adele one did. It's kind of built. Yeah. But anyhow, what else do we got, Andre?
Yeah, let's see here. Then we have another we can bring up is Dean Krantz, who says for $5, I remember an article I read about Craig as James Bland, the Gray Man. I bet that's something Jesse's going to agree with.
I mean,
do you guys know what a gray man is?
Go ahead.
A gray man is when your political views are no longer popular and you have to fade into society and act like everybody else, but you're still yourself inside, but you're really just fading into the crowd. It's called gray man theory. It's to escape communism.
Okay.
What about brown man theory? What does that mean?
Brown man theory is when you can't stop shitting.
Well, that doesn't feel like diversity and inclusion, Jesse.
Is that anything like the brown note?
They go hand in hand, and you know what? You don't want any inclusion at that point, because you want people to stay the hell away from your bathroom.
And we got another new member in Freakadelic. Welcome, Freakadelic. And to all new and existing members, I promise as soon as my voice is back up, there's going to be member streams, there's going to be Norse mythology, there's going to be behind the scenes making of videos. Hell, I'm even going to throw in some original Ibsen just to make up for all the time that's been lost. So,
and that's
original readings of Henrik Ibsen's. Since Doomcock already has Shakespeare cornered, I'm going to do the Norwegian Shakespeare.
And half of the reason we haven't been getting anything out is my fault too, so I apologize as well. And Rambam says the gray man is exactly what a good spy should be. Yeah, in public,
that's a great point.
But you also want them to be very loyal and patriotic to their, wherever they're from too. Obviously, you want to be extremely.
Yeah, it's hard to sneak into a crowd in a spy scenario because you have to be likable but forgettable. That's very hard to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a fine line. You have to be able to.
Well, that's also a very good confidence man. Anybody that's the face man in a con team also has to be likable but forgettable. You can't be striking in any way.
And 6 says it's 96% my fault. I'll take it.
Probably true.
Probably is.
Yeah. What'd you do now?
Not good.
And Freakadelic wonders where's a good place to send the message. No, just put the message in the chat and hashtag Midnight's Edge, and we'll pick
Otherwise, PayPal is not a horrible way as long as Andre's paying attention.
Yeah, as long as I am able to log in and get it in online here. But for right now, just send a message. Just send a message here in the chat, or if there's something else, drop us an email. The email is on the. It's on the About channel. There you'll find an email.
I do want to take a moment, though, to thank Mr. Tickle Trunk for a very generous donation as well, though he sent to my PayPal. So thank you, sir, for the both of us. We appreciate that.
Yeah. And then there's no more super chats that I can bring up on screen, but we do have a backlog in our repository, and we do have a repository for super chats. Going back a little bit, Cali PMC said for $5, are any of you Asimov fans? I need someone to tell me if this new Foundation series is worth watching. Will you be covering it? So, gentlemen, who are
I've only-
familiar with Asimov, and have you seen Foundation, and is it any good?
As far as Isaac Asimov goes, my uncle was a big fan. I've only read Nightfall, which was an elongation of a short story about a world where it's never nighttime than it is. But as far as Isaac Asimov goes, he's always had a reputation for, some people love him and some people think he's a joke. I don't understand the people who think he's a joke personally, because he's come out with so much original freaking material. It's probably being jelly, really. But, you know, maybe it's like a Stephen King. They're great at creating all this stuff. Maybe he's not the best at dialogue sometimes or whatever. And so people goof on him. But I think Isaac Asimov created a whole wealth of material that everybody's been copying for, what, 70 years now?
Yep.
Yeah, very, very prolific writer. I know him only on a surface level, though. I don't know too deeply into his catalog, or however you want to put it. I haven't had a chance to really check into Foundation much. Just heard a little bit about it.
I saw the trailer, and I'm going to be watching all of it.
Mike, though, it sounds like you know a little bit about it.
Mike, you're going to be disappointed based on everything that's come out about it.
Oh, no.
Well, I don't know if all of his material was of the same vibe, but the one I read, it was kind of graphic, especially for the time. So with the times we live in now, where everybody's, you know, bubble wrapped, I don't know if they'll be able to tell those stories properly, because you won't have the weight that goes along with all the things that happen, because you can't show them.
Yeah, and as for me, I'm a pretty decent fan of Asimov. I have read the majority of the robot stories, and I have read the first Foundation book. I haven't read the others, but I have read the first one. Now, but I read that 15 years ago, and I remember the beginning of it. I remember the gist of the story, but I don't remember it well enough that I'll be able to do like a good comparison between the story and the series. I haven't seen the series yet, but I fully intend to do so and at least assess it on its own merits. I haven't really heard anything else about it, but that culture says that there's bad things about it. That is, of course, very disconcerting, because I kind of like had a hope that with the Foundation, you could eventually cross over into the robot stories, because I do know that they shared continuity.
Yep, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
and I know they spent some money on this thing.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, they did, and I the problem is that this is the things that I'd heard going in were that they had to create a character that you could follow throughout, and if you know the trilogy, you know that that's not how it's written.
No, far from it.
Yeah, and you know it's interesting. A lot of the stuff that they did, and you know, beyond the gender swapping or any of the other stuff, it's just you know, every review I've seen, and I've shared a review with you know, you guys and some other folks as well, that it just doesn't, it's just not, it's what they call a faithless adaptation. In fact, that's the secondary title in one of the reviews. And so it bothered me, right? And again, I mean, you know, I think I do this every once in a while. I go over here to the bookcases and I grab this and hold it up and say, this is a copy that I was given by my stepdad. It's 1,000 years old, right? But this is the original Foundation trilogy, which has like, I don't know, 11 billion books now or whatever, but it's a very poorly named trilogy. It's got like 5 or 6, but anyway,
at least 7.
Yeah, there you go. So it's like there's insane numbers of books, but you know, and it's yeah, there you go, Clay Johnson. This is exactly.
Go ahead and read it if you want to. Thank you, Clay.
Yeah, Clay Johnson for $5 says Foundation looks great, but strays big time from the books. Lots of gender and race swaps due to all of Asimov's characters were obviously white male. Could still be good. I have heard exactly not anything favorable. I haven't heard anything favorable.
That's so disappointing.
Yeah, but this was going to be my, like, you know, pay attention to it weekend, and I'm doing something else this weekend.
Oh, don't say that.
You know, it's kind of tangential on that note.
Subject matter. The books are great. I really. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, how long before they start canceling movies like The Thing and stuff like that are like all male casts?
Just retroactively?
Yeah.
Well, there goes Reservoir Dogs.
I know, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's like a
Usual
good handful of
Suspects.
movies that I can think of right offhand. That's like,
If
there's
only
no
Steve
female
Buscemi was a
characters in
black guy.
problematic.
Hey, look, you're going to have to cancel almost all of the Tom Hanks stuff. I mean, you got to cancel Big. You got to cancel Cast
That
Away.
is
I got one for you. How
Yeah.
about Miss Wokety Woke Rowling with the Harry Potter? There's one black guy in the whole series.
Nigel.
And they never say who he is.
Nigel.
He's always there.
Well,
He's in the Order of the
Alphabet
Phoenix, for
community is
Christ's sake.
already working very hard at canceling her. They've been trying that for years.
Yeah, they're going the other debate. The alphabet debate with her.
Exactly, because she is of the opinion that a person who is capable of becoming pregnant, let's put it that way, according to the writer of Harry Potter, such a person is not a person who is capable of becoming pregnant, but a woman. Just to give an indication of her general mindset. And this has put her in great opposition with a segment of the alphabet people. So they're trying to cancel her for that reason.
You remember Carl, and it's always about the language they use.
Yeah,
It's true.
And then,
Spooky language.
and moving on with the super chats, Commander Ed Straker of Shadow says for $5, thank you so much. Shirley Bassey's Goldfinger is the standard all Bond film songs are judged by.
Goldfinger.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That is the one that kind of set the template.
First, yeah.
I mean, not just the song, but the whole movie. The whole movie is and this is like something we saw in our going through of all the Bond movies that I think we're going to fast forward into the Daniel Craig era.
Can I stick in one thing real quick?
But yeah, Goldfinger is the one that kind of set the template for everything to follow. The two movies prior to that were like earlier attempts, and with Goldfinger, the formula was perfected.
Now, Andre, with Live and Let Die, do you think that the theme song for that being done by Paul McCartney was too out of the universe?
I think it was actually. I think it was really good because that was the first movie of Roger Moore, wasn't it? So it was more contemporary at the time, and it indicated a shift of tone and everything. And for that, I actually think it's perfect. Yeah,
That's funny.
So I think it was.
That's my favorite one of the theme songs. Anyway,
It's very
From
very
the same
catchy.
country, for God's sake. It makes total sense.
Yeah. Makes total sense. So yeah, I think it's.
Plus, it has the da-da-da, da-da-da.
Oh, that is catchy. That's very
Da-da-da, rabbit chicken. Da-da-da.
And Willie says Reservoir Dogs canceled and nothing of value was lost. Willie, it was kind of nice being your friend, but all things come to an end. And with that comment, our friendship does. I'm sorry.
Wow.
No, but man, how could you say that about Reservoir?
Don't know.
well, moving on to something
Michael
not
Gonzalez
Reservoir.
does say with a super chat that we can bring up, Saw Foundation, not Asimov, but engaging thumbs up. Well, there's
That's good. That's
okay.
That's good to hear.
That's contrary to it's contrary to other things. So, but that's great. I want to be wrong again. That was gonna be my weekend.
Well, here's the thing: is we become so knee jerk, and then we'll get into the super chat.
That's true.
We become so knee jerk that here's the thing: is I never used to have a problem with like race swaps specifically. Gender swaps is meh. Race swaps never really bothered me as long as they didn't add a bunch of stereotypes to the character, right?
Yeah, as long as they don't alter the character.
Exactly.
Like Roland the Gunslinger. He was described in a very bland way in the books. He's supposed to look like Clint Eastwood out of the spaghetti westerns, okay? So to replace him with the definitely black Idris Elba made no difference. It was actually a good choice. Why? Because he was good in the role, and the race had jack shit to do with that story. Well, until you get to the second movie, Drawing of the Three, or the second book, where they have Susan come in, and there's a lot of race stuff within that character that she went through in the past, but that has nothing to do with Roland and his universe, because they're from different worlds. There's other worlds than these.
No, like, I mean, great example, of course, is Lawrence Fishburne is Perry White and stuff in Man of Steel. Like, I thought that was a really good casting choice.
He's good, though.
several other ones I could think of offhand, but like that's the thing is like I've even brought up the point like people have argued, well, Batman can't be black or Superman can't be black. I said, like Superman more so you could say could be any color he wants.
He could be green,
fucking alien,
yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
we've already had, I believe, Dean Cain is part Asian, so we've
How
already.
how do they know that on Krypton there's not a whole bunch of different skin tones?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
I
like,
mean, really,
even-
that's
and
just
beyond
silly.
that, everybody knows he's adopted as Clark, right? So that's the whole point is you can kind of get away with a little bit of leeway, and as long as you don't change who the character is overall, I'm fine with it. That's my problem with Miles Morales. It's like I wouldn't have a problem with the character so much, but when I went to see Into the Spider-Verse, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, I felt like they added more stereotypes to the character. It's like they added all these things to it. It's like, why? They tried
Because
to make
they're
more
trying
like
to
Peter.
relate to people they don't understand.
And that's just it. It's like, okay, so you're trying to be all quote unquote diverse, but instead to me, you're coming off as racist.
Well, I'm completely
yeah.
in shock that Jesse and Tom are way more forgiving on this topic than I am because I take a hard line. I want them to look just the way they looked. I want them to act more or less just the way they acted, the way I found them when I grew up.
See, my problem is plot holes. See, it's like, especially with Superman, let's say that he was a black guy, right? From a Kryptonian version. Now, the United States happens to be 71% white people, right? So if you get a random spaceship that's coming hurtling out of space, hits in the middle of farmland, now that family just happened to be black, because if it was a white family raising the black child back in the day, somebody would have asked, where'd you get that baby? Right? So that blows up the whole thing for me. But beyond that, I mean, I see Mikey's point, obviously, where it's you want to see what's on the page. I mean, that's why everybody loved Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, because he looks like friggin' Tony Stark, right? Same thing with Thor. But in a Superman, you're talking about the individual character of Kal-El or Clark Kent or whatever you want to call him. He's a white guy. He happens to be white. Sorry. I get that.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry.
No, normally I just prefer you stick with it, but like, once in a great while, you'll just get that random. It just makes sense. And the problem is we don't live in a world anywhere where those just make sense now. They're done just for virtue. That's the problem. And that's why I get the reactionary feelings to a lot of these situations when they happen. So
you're totally right with the knee-jerk reaction and everything, though, because it's like, no matter if it's anything that any of us even like a little bit or remember, like the second we hear about them doing something with it, it's like red alert, put up the walls, shields up.
Well, we have
get
3
ready for
examples
battle.
now.
Yeah, because
we have
a decade now,
Dune, and we have Venom to a point now.
Hey, don't forget the way I reacted to He-Man.
Yeah.
No, let's not forget about that.
Well, and to go on the girl side of things, like as far as women go, like we all agreed that for those who on the panel here who saw Bill and Ted 3, a lot of the stuff that we had as far as the gut reactions and the knee-jerk reactions to the daughters was basically unfounded when we actually see the movie.
Oh,
and
yeah,
outside of one stupid line, there's nothing wrong with it or overly woke about it. So
yeah, I enjoyed the daughters in that. They loved their fathers very much. They had respect for their fathers. They were the only people in that movie who thought highly of those two men. That's nice.
Yeah, imagine
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, that was really good. But gentlemen, we have a few more super chats to go through here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see if there's someone else I can bring up on screen.
I need to let Bambino out. I'll be right back while you're doing
Yeah,
that.
sure, go for it. Let Doggy out. And Naked Fame says, everyone forgets the Pretender. Didn't do a theme. The Pretender, is that like that 90s series?
Yeah, the Pretender was a television show.
There
where
was
I
a-
was
remember.
raised. And,
I remember. Yeah, it's true. That didn't have a theme.
There was
I was
a stint for a while where a few shows didn't really necessarily have the standard television theme. They were trying it for a bit there.
I can't help myself. I love that show.
It was really cool. And Miss Parker, she was so smoky.
Oh, yeah, for real. She was so bitchy.
Yeah, that did not make her any less hot. But okay.
No, it didn't. Not one bit.
But thank you, Nick.
Yeah. And then moving on from there, let's see if there's any
The Pretenders,
others.
he says Bond.
And
Did
all right.
Pretenders do a Bond song? Is that what he meant?
I don't know. I didn't know if the series The Pretender, and that
I
didn't
think they
have a theme.
did. Hold on, let me Google that shit.
Maybe they did. Well,
I think he's
you
trying to
check that
correct
out.
himself here. Is what he's trying
Yeah.
to do. I'm trying to figure out what he means here.
Yeah.
Just say it.
Yeah,
Nate,
I
say
think that
you don't
Chrissy
have to-
Hine did something.
Maybe, yeah. The Pretender. Yeah, that's what. See, now other people are saying The Pretenders too.
Meanwhile,
did
while you look
If
into
There
that,
Was a Man. They did If There Was a Man, and I believe this was this.
Yeah, The
from
Pretenders
Who to
did two
Kill?
Bond songs, not a theme.
Oh, okay. I see.
I see what he means now. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That changes
well,
everything.
in same respect, you had the '90s. They were trying different things and stuff like that too.
Yeah, but The Pretender, I don't recall that having much of a theme.
No, but
Maybe
that
it
was
did, but
another.
then it was memorable.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
another kind of. That's how I got confused, because there was
Yeah.
a period there where they were trying to get away from the theme songs. You had a lot of sitcoms and some drama shows where they would just jump right into the show, and they wouldn't have like a standard theme. But yeah, so that's where I got confused. Sorry about that.
And the one that I do remember from that era was The Nowhere Man, and that had a really bitchin' theme. But yeah, and then Mr. Tickle Trunk says for $5 Canadian, it's like Jerry from Pop Culture Minefield says, we've had our hands bit by the Hollywood dog so often we flinch now. Or like Charlie Brown and the football. Exactly right. And SCR Red Wolf says Murphy Brown never had a theme. It
true.
rotated licensed music through its 80s and 90s run.
Now that you mention that, that's
there you
probably
go.
one of the first times I remember that now. Yep.
And
Late 80s.
Mags says more than 1,000 watching, only 787 likes.
Can we get it to
Hulk
1,000?
smash that button. Yes, smash that like, everyone. Smash it for
sent you a message
Bond.
too, by the way.
Says sent via okay, yeah, I'll go and
While
check
you're
the
doing that, I'll grab
PayPal.
a couple of classic super chats here. I got in this.
Okay, yeah,
chat
you
here,
do that in the
like.
meantime.
I think we
and
may
I'll
not
go
have
into
gotten
PayPal.
yet. Drive-by commentator earlier said, I think Craig's Bond was influenced by the impact of Bourne trilogy. Bond is charm, Bourne is gruff. Yeah, I've not seen the films, but I've heard this from many places. I'm sure Mike can agree, in culture, or Jesse, and on how the Bourne identity did influence that next stint of Bond films, obviously.
It absolutely did. I can even concur.
I was going to say, I'm sure a lot of people can concur.
Because by the time of the Craig era, Jason Bourne had already supplanted the place of James Bond.
Wasn't that also one of the longest stints where there was no Bond movie in between? Like, because you had the.
It was that too. It was one of the longer stints, and also the previous stint became kind of like a self-referential parody towards the end there.
Yeah, with what's his face from
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan, yeah. Excuse me. Hyperguyver 2 says, I never liked Craig as Bond, and Sphincter was a killing blow for me. I'll just wait for the next 007 to be announced. Hey, that's totally fair, and that's what seems to be at least a good thing about this universe, is it is a bit of a pocket universe, as Andre was saying earlier. So
yeah.
Then Warwolf chimes in with James Bond renamed to the Scottish name Hamish Bond, appears in Kim Newman's third Anno Dracula novel. I'm not novels or anything like that, so there you go.
And then we have a message from Freakadelic sent over PayPal. Thank you so much. Try this 007 idea on for size. 007 ought to have been coerced into being Blofield's double agent inspector, because Blofeld can get you dirty and have leverage on you, and Bond has to figure out how to get out of that stranglehold. It'd make him a nemesis, because he damn near took away 007's one redeeming quality of loyalty to Queen and country. Not a nemesis by way of an Austin Powers-esque sibling rivalry. Yeah, that actually would have been cool. That would have been very cool.
Yeah, but how would we have gotten him in the beginning?
But I'm sure Blofeld would have found the way. I'm sure
James Bond does have family.
Yeah,
he's got brothers. They're all named James.
And then moving on from there, getting back into the classics, because we do have some classic super chats here. Melvin Bellard says for $10, good afternoon, Andre and Tom and everyone else. It is good to see that the person that programmed Andre with the ability to cry finally got around to updating his antivirus program. Glad you're feeling better, Andre. Yeah, well, yes. My programmers are doing better, evidently.
And I don't know about this crying thing. I don't think.
Yeah, I can't picture that.
No, that doesn't happen. I don't know. That subroutine is.
Maybe it was a war cry, and you misread it.
Yeah, that must have been it.
Yeah.
And then Golgo 13's Anime 101 says Rabbit Chicken Army Assemble. Venom at home only. And then Shadow Dancer. That makes me wonder, does he know the secret of Shinobi? He says for 200 Russian rubles. Question about Bond. What about Pierce Brosnan? At his current age, could he still pull off a decent Bond? I mean, if there could be a film about aged Bond. And well, yeah, of course he could pull it off, as long as he's not asked to beat up anyone, or do any stunts, or any running.
If we get an Indiana Jones movie while Harrison Ford's 90, I think just about anybody could play Bond at this point.
Yeah, he's gonna fall and break his hip. That's gonna be brilliant.
I hate to say this, but everything I've heard about Pierce Brosnan, he's not exactly the nicest guy. So maybe that would be an issue. But beyond that,
I'm sure there's plenty actors that aren't the nicest guys.
It's true. I still watch Christmas Vacation after all.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, it would be cool to have like a 5 Doctors style James Bond reunion or something. Just don't ask too much in the way of stunts of like the older Bonds, including
CGI for that.
Yeah. And then Dark
Give
King.
him some hair dye and he'll be good.
And Dark King says for $5 Australian, I think directors and others should stop making statements intended to make the wokes happy. Appeasement is not a good idea. Just ask Neville Chamberlain. Yeah, that's a very, very good point.
That's probably coming soon, though.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it is, because so far, I have to say, because we now have had several movies in a row that have been less woke than they were sold as, which is good. But what's bad is that they still try to up like the wokeness of them in the marketing and in the public conversation.
Yeah, but Andre, do you think that's because they're trying to wean the populace off the stupidity?
I think it's so that the people that are woke won't burn the theaters down, because they know that those people, those that claim to be on the right side of history, are dangerous freaking people.
Do you think there's any fixing that mentality? I know that's not a movie question; it's more of a sociological.
You mean the people who have like that mentality, the like the woke people?
Yeah, because they are very angry and
I think that some of them with training can be de-radicalized. I think that some of them genuinely mean well, and they just need to be pointed out to the errors of their way and become de-radicalized. So some of them, I think, absolutely can be brought back to normal, rational people. But for others, lost generation.
Well, we're starting to slowly see it, though. We're seeing a lot of people come out in the press and saying, this woke stuff is getting to be old. The cancel culture thing is not good. And
but it's not any young people. It's like the older generation.
Well, we're starting to see a few people that matter. Like,
people are coming out and saying things like, when all this stuff started, it wasn't so bad because they were trying to get rid of people who weren't good people, but then it just became this whole other thing, and then no one could stop it. And
well, that's the thing, and I don't want to take away from those who have come out and said shit, right? Like, that's the thing, because there's a few that have, and I'm not just talking about Pirate Guy either, like Nicki Minaj, like Mags pointed out and stuff. And kids will listen to people like her, right? Like, that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say is
that's what we need. We need more like that. We need more people like that coming out, because that's how this is going to change. We need more people that can speak directly to the ones who think themselves on the right side of history, because they're the worst of people.
I just saw, I think it was Rihanna wearing a T-shirt that said, "Think for yourself while it's still legal."
Yeah, stuff like that. That's what it's going to require. So yeah.
I
And then
credit
they're
Tom
also-
McDonald with most of this.
I was also going to say it's only going to take like one or two more people like Gina to get canceled, and it'll probably come to a big halt because it's getting too far.
I mean, at what point are they going to cancel Spielberg for making Schindler's List?
Oh, give it time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but he'll be cancelled for The Color Purple many times over.
God.
Well, they already tried to cancel him for that back in the 80s, and that's the thing. He's doing West Side Story now. Just wait. When West Side Story
but the media is forgiving that. So
for the most part. But by then, you'll have enough people in the Latino community that'll speak out and say, why didn't this movie have a director that wasn't white? Is what they'll turn around and say. And you watch. That's probably where they'll start coming after Spielberg, and then they'll remind him of all his pasts. And that's why we know Kevin Smith is kissing the ass he is. Because God forbid anybody sees some of his past films, he's fucked. Like, I mean, after that, the whole thing.
I used to watch all of his
I love his classic films, but that's the thing. After Motu, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to just say, hey, woke folk, go check out Clerks, Clerks 2, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Chasing Amy specifically, because they would tear apart Chasing Amy now.
Oh God, yeah, with the whole intersection joke. Give me a break.
Well, just beyond the fact that you have a guy.
They're figments of your imagination.
All she needed was a bit of a deep dicking line is going to cancel him forever.
Oh, the finger cuffs.
All that shit would get him. And then Dogma and
the thing with the nun, the nun joke.
It's all all of his movies would get him fucking canceled in no time flat, and he knows that. And that's why I have no fucking faith in Clerks 3 now.
And you know what? Those movies were funny. Maybe to be funny, sometimes you gotta be a little offensive. I mean,
there's no humor without it.
The Smithsonian lists Blazing Saddles as the number 5 comedy of all time. I don't know if they've eliminated that from the list at this point, but you know.
Yeah. Well, it has a label. The next step after a label is to call it bad and then remove it. So it's just a matter of time. But I did go back and see what Kevin Smith's comments were about for Marvel, to go back to that one super chat, Andre. It's typical Kevin Smith stuff. It seems a bit like the headlines are being a bit hyperbolic.
Did he make his eyes really wide and wave his hands around and then start crying?
No, but he basically said what he's always said. That's the thing. He respects Marvel, so he's afraid to touch it. So he just flat out said that, like, I'd love to, but I just don't think that I'm the guy for that, is basically what his final comment was on it, on the whole thing.
We have some more super chats here. So let's go through those as well. Infinity Flare says for $10, Venom ready for the MCU. Completely made him a non-threatening kitty cat. It goes out of its way to avoid showing violence with lots of cuts and features the MCU brand cringe humor. Very disappointing. It's just sorry to hear that. You see that. I was looking forward to that movie precisely because I was hoping it wouldn't be that. But maybe even waiting another 5 extra weeks won't be so bad. And then Naked Fame also said, passed up invite to see Venom last night. Also got invited to the pub to play darts and sing karaoke, so pub. I'm off today. Should I go see Venom? Well, that's up to you. If you go see, let us know what you think. I'm jealous because I won't be able to see it for 5 weeks myself. Or 6 weeks, or whatever the case may be.
I'm going to say it's nice outside, so wait till the sun goes down, then go on a nice trip to the theater.
Yeah. And then let's see. We got this one from Red Tigers already. Corsair Raven says for $5. Hey, everyone. You know, with all the BS going on in the world, we need a lot less division and more unity between us. For fuck's sake, we're all the same species. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we need an alien attack.
Let's all focus on what binds us together.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it
right here.
Ozymandias was right. We need a fucking alien attack. That's what we need.
That's you need an external. That's the best way to combine internal rifts between an in-group is a strong out-group. That's a threat.
Anybody know where we can find a squid monster?
And teleport it in here.
Yeah.
And then Troy Pacelli says for $10, I get that Bond isn't the SJW fest the marketing implied, but I can't forgive the gaslighting. I had already decided I wouldn't be seeing this film regardless. That is the message they need to get.
And that's, you know, that's completely understandable, right? I mean, it's their own fault for doing this shit. Oh,
Yeah.
you should be muted. There's Jesse, probably.
No, yeah, I think I just accidentally. Yep, Siege Perilous. I just hit a comment by accident.
Oh,
God damn it!
if you just hit a comment, that's all. As long as you didn't block them.
No,
Sorry
I think
about
it says it was hidden. So
Okay,
now that's got to
yeah.
get fixed. My bad, Perilous.
I can fix it. No worries. Where
While
are we,
you
Andre?
fix that, Madeline's id says, "Don't miss my members chat." Yeah,
I think we got it.
Well, did we get it earlier? Okay,
I think
good.
that's the
And
one
then-
I read. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he says, "But I'll say really quick, I'm happy to punish woke marketing, even if the film itself isn't woke. They deserve punishment." And Mr. Evil 1 says for $6.66. Have to get that in there. I caught that Expanse reference, Tom. Thanks. So yeah,
I'm
Tom,
just-
you
at
made
this
an
point, I
Expanse
don't-
reference.
If it did it was completely on accident because I don't remember what it would have been.
Yeah, and there you just destroyed the illusion, but
No,
yeah,
I'm not going to lie to people.
yeah.
I've never fucking seen it.
And Vince and Repeat wonders for 10 Australian dollars. It's 3 a.m. in Brisbane, Australia. Hail Midnight's Edge. Does James Bond find time to die at the end of the movie? That's the question. Now, I don't want to give it give any spoilers here. I really don't. So everyone that do not want any spoilers,
Well, here's how we do this. This is how I did it the other night on Mead.
yeah,
I'm gonna put my hand up, and as soon as I put my hand down on screen, then the spoilers are done. So if you have headphones on or whatever, turn your phone down, whatever, until my hand's down if you don't want spoilers.
yeah, okay. So everyone, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. He does find the time. And spoiler.
So the next movie is going to be called Dying Let
Well,
Live.
let's not get into the next movie at all. He does, yeah. Moving on.
The next movie's
Moving
called
on to
Doctor
the-
No Means No.
we don't
Then
know
the one
what
after
it is.
that's called The Spy Who Asked Permission. No, I'm just
And then, and then Action.com
The spy
wonders
who identified
who
himself.
Yeah, but anyway, you guys, Action.com says, who will get credit if Bond is a success? And while you discuss that, I have an accidental blocking to undo.
Thank you, Andre. I'm sorry.
It happens sometimes, especially when you put your phone in your pocket and it's still on.
Well, honestly, the type box, whoever's next up on top of the type box, you have a 50% chance of getting opened every time I touch my phone. So
Mecca J sent in $5. We can bring this one up on screen. Says No Time to Die's director called Sean Connery the Dolphin Lover. He destroyed any chance of me ever watching that movie. Well, and this is probably the only one he's going to direct. So
called him a dolphin lover.
well, as in a forceful companion. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
The word we don't like to say on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the word that begins with Ray
Yeah,
and that it ends with
It's a-
Peter.
it's a Star Wars thing. It's the therapists.
Yes, the therapists. Yeah. And again, that's his own dumbass fault, man. I mean, and well, Fukunaga, isn't that his name? Kerry Fukunaga.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have just kept his he should have just kept his fucking mouth shut because he had it, and now this movie looks like it's going to do well. This kid could have had it made. And I call him a kid because I think he's younger than me. He may not be, but
Well, maybe if he is young, maybe he should just say, I feel differently about what I said back then, and I grew up a little bit. That's okay.
too late now. But he should have never said it in the first damn place.
Yeah.
True.
He's
But
grown
I've said a million
He's grown up a little bit since last week.
Why did he come out already and say something about it?
No. he didn't. But like, this very limited how much he can have grown up in such a short amount of time.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but anyway, yeah. So accidental blocking has been undone.
Sorry about
And
that.
with that, let's get back into the classic super chats. Let's see. I just have to find out where we were.
We bounced
There is
around,
where
yeah.
we were. ActionCom wonders who will get credit if Bond is a success. Well, it will be shared, but like the big face of it is going to be Daniel Craig. And then there's the director, and then there's Barbara Broccoli. It's going to be kind of like shared between them, I would say. And then Warwolf wonders, okay, I need to ask, who is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and is she as woke as I suspect based on these comments? Well, do you remember Solo, A Star Wars Story? And there you have like this robot activist, the one like that, Robot Lives Matters. That's Phoebe Waller-Bridge. That was her behind the mask, and she's the one who wrote it.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, we're not.
Yeah, she also had a fairly successful series on Netflix called Fleabag.
Yeah, that was the next thing
back.
I was going to bring up. In it, she's like she is like a woman who's really struggling with her relationships, which she has many of, and there she is so progressive and so feminist that she repeatedly asks for some backdoor action and stuff like that. So,
she seduces a priest. I mean, she's not a very good person in the show.
Well, and then it's headlines like these that are not going to help this movie. I mean, this is fucking Newsweek.
Okay, there's I was about to say, but yeah, this is completely accurate. Okay, you can now referring to Q as gay Q.
Well, I guess he's.
You're welcome.
Q.
And
Q in the LGBT, evidently. No, he's actually gay. Wasn't that hinted at before though? Than this,
I think it was. I think it was like two movies.
Maybe it was, but it was more overt here then. But yeah, it may have been, because to me it was kind of like no surprise. I was like, I'm not shocked by that at all.
So they're making a big deal out of it for just headlines.
Oh, they're making a bigger deal in the headlines. Culture, how long do we have you for before you have to be out here?
Oh, I probably should be sliding out about now, but I was not going to interrupt the flow.
Thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah, I really enjoyed being here as always. You guys, I mean, especially when we talk about Bond, and Bond is. I grew up, my grandfather introduced the character to me way before I should have been as a young person, but I thank him for that every day, because it gave me a lifetime of enjoyment. And I'm just hoping this film is good. So thank you for the privilege of hanging out with you again, gentlemen. And I will be having my show in a little while. So for those who are looking for something,
we'll try to round out for them so that we can send some audiences your way.
No rush, but I appreciate everybody's support. You guys are the whole reason we're here. Everybody have a lovely day. See you later.
All right, thanks for joining us. And then Mr. Tickletrunk, he said, rant. And I think that was in reference to when Chris Gore was here.
Naked Fame also sent one we can bring up on screen that says, Phoebe Waller-Bridge sounds like something you need antibiotics to get rid of. Antibiotics that require insurance and a chemical peel.
Sounds genetic.
And she's also, let's not forget, she's also the one that is rewriting and that will be upstaging Indiana Jones in his movie, also hired by Kathleen Kennedy, the same person who hired her as the robot activist in Solo, A Star Wars Story.
So did she try and get Harrison Ford to do anal?
On her?
No!
I don't know. You said she was obsessed with it, so.
Yeah, that's in Fleabag.
I know, but it probably comes from somewhere.
Yeah, well, I don't think that but those were just with like random losers in her show. There's a big difference between that, because it's empowering when she wants that with like a random loser in her show. I don't think it would be so empowering if she wanted to do anything of the sort with Indiana Jones. Then, if anything, she might be like considered as subservient to him and can't have that. So yeah, I don't think so. And then, did we have any more super chats we can bring up on screen here?
I don't think so. I think that's the only one we had. We could, at least that
Yeah, there was the Feeble Roller Bridge
Yep.
one. Yeah, okay. Then moving on. Then we have the SSB candidates, who says for $50 Mexican. Muchas gracias. Today marks a year of the inclusion of Minecraft Steve in Smash. I want to know from video game industry insiders, what compelled Nintendo to sell out? And I have no idea. I have some video game insiders I can reach out to, but I haven't had time to do that yet because I've been busy with everything else. So, do any of you know, top of your head, what compelled Nintendo to sell out? Because I have no clue.
I don't want to respond because I don't.
I can answer why Sega left the console market, but
Sold out in what way?
That was my question. Yeah.
What was what?
Sold out pertaining to
Like,
what?
yeah, sold out in what way? Like figuratively or literally? Like,
I don't know. SSB candidates, you're gonna have to update some more detail to that question in the comments here.
I mean, there's
Send
the
another
sold out.
super
There's
chat.
the sold out of the PS5 level as a practical concern. There's
Right.
the sold out in terms of its content, which has to do with the
Right.
changing of staff and people and the games that they approve.
making
to
them all
develop.
woke and all that business.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
just
yeah,
curious when they're going to release the Switch 2.
Sell
we
out
can
to
buy a bunch of their
Microsoft,
stuff.
including Minecraft, Steve, and Smash.
Well,
And then we have two super chats in a row from Patrick Mulligan, both for
Well,
5
yeah,
donations.
here's candidates says he means sell out
Okay.
to Microsoft for including Minecraft, Steve, and Smash. Does
Don't know.
Microsoft own Minecraft? Is that what the deal is?
I have no clue.
So it'd be a figurative selling out in a way.
That would be a different channel, not us.
Yeah, we're not much of a gaming channel unless
yeah, but there's been
Jesse
games
knows
like
about
Soul
it.
Calibur where they add characters from everywhere. I mean, Minecraft is like a little kid game, so they're trying to get more little kids who play Minecraft to play the Mario game Smash. That's all that is. That's
that
a
would be
smart
my
move.
guess. I don't know if I'd consider that necessarily selling out per se. But
No, it wouldn't be selling out. They're just making a good business decision.
yeah, especially if they're not
Because
selling to the
Nintendo
company.
has always been number 3. Nintendo used to be number 1 back in the early 80s, of course, with the NES. Then moving on into the early 90s, they had the war with Sega. But come on now, PlayStation and an Xbox. They made Nintendo a third party forever. And now Nintendo has actually gained more of the gaming market than Xbox has. If anybody wants to believe that, it's true. Excluding, of course, freemium games for phones because those aren't real games. So stupid. But
I mean, everybody's
yeah,
highly
that,
anticipating the Switch thing big time. I mean,
they finally gained a place of leverage with the Switch. Okay,
Yeah.
so
my
now,
kid loves this thing, man. He loves this thing.
So now Microsoft and Xbox, they are going to want to cater to that because they just took their position. They just took the silver podium from them. They got to do something. So
My kid loves that damn thing. I mean, literally loves it.
why not try to bleed your Microsoft characters onto that other platform? That's why when people talk about video games like, oh, the next Elder Scrolls is going to be Xbox exclusive, I laugh at that because it's like, this game has been in development for years and they're not going to scrap that much money put in to not have it on all systems. Why would you have something that's always been on all systems and suddenly become an exclusive? Well, that would just dwindle the market share. Like now I can only sell to 23% of the gaming market. Oh, that's a brilliant move. Lots of stuff don't make sense. But you have to make gaming. You got to make deals. You always got to make deals.
Then the problem you have with the other half of the panel, like Andre and I, is unless it's something that's on the Sega Mega Drive or has Pac or Donkey in the title, chances are we're not too familiar with it.
Well, that's not the case with me, but yeah.
But yeah, that's why I said the other half. So, Mike, I know you're a little bit more.
I play this. I mean, I got my Xbox One. I got my PlayStation 5. I got my gaming rig with everything.
You got a PlayStation 5? I'm impressed.
I know, the lucky bastard.
I've had a PlayStation. You're going to die. You're going to hate this when you're ready for this. I've had my PlayStation 5 since June. The end of June.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but did you get it? Did you get it
GameStop?
off of waiting for a line, or did you have to buy it off of a scalper? Because I will not buy one.
GameStop Gold member, baby.
I basically don't get too many days off. I took one of my rare semi close to what you would call days off, even though I think we had a Mead broadcast that day. And I ran down to try and find one, and it was a nightmare.
Jesse, when I come up next month, is it the end of the month? When I come up at the end of the month to your house, I'll bring it with me in the car.
Okay. Check it out. But see, the thing is, like, GameStop, I won't even mess with them no more because I had pre-ordered 2 copies of the Super Deluxe whatever Predator Hunting Grounds when it first came out because I was part of the beta test, right? So they just never gave me my games. They closed one location. There was a sign on the door to go to the next one, and they were like, "Well, we don't know where your games are." And I was like, "Does anyone? Can I get my money back?" He's like, "Not here. You'd have to go to the original store." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's closed. It said to come here." He's like, "I don't know."
Well, that's an example of what happens when they already had challenges in customer service. And then you had some bad leadership combined with, then you throw the pandemic, and then they're in malls. A lot of the mall stores
I
closed.
fucking hate GameStop.
Yeah, and it was a mall store, and that's why I figured it would be a little safer because everybody knows
No.
that there's a GameStop at the mall.
The ones that I found that that were still customer service oriented, that worked well, were the independents that were almost pretty much like their standalone, like Radio Shacks used to be in the day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
back
back to
Radio Shack.
Yeah,
Anyway,
anyway, back to
couple
Super
here and
Chat.
there. Yeah, we have a few more super chats to get.
Yeah,
to.
we got 2 in a row from Patrick Mulligan, who says for $5 Canadian for each. First, the black female 007 does not necessitate woke. When will people realize that plenty of diverse and politically progressive does not equal bad writing? And yeah, there's obviously like some woke aspects to it, but honestly, all the stuff that you're worried about, that you would think, if it's certainly based on that first trailer, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And she is in no way, shape, or form superior to Bond in any way. On the contrary, he upstages her at every turn.
I was going to say, if you weren't here, you could just back up a little bit. I think we kind of covered a lot of that pretty well here.
And then he also suggests get Mauler, Rags, and Fringy on Midnight's Edge from EFAP. They can explain the difference between bad writing and writing that you simply do not like for politics.
Would be an honor. I'm not really in direct contact with Mauler, but maybe next time I talk to him, I'll try and figure something out.
Yeah, it would be great to have him on. And then says, "Hi, gents. Hello, everyone. And hello, hope you're still here." And Kaiju King Gabriel says for $5, "Wait, what was a TV episode? Venom, Let There Be Carnage, or Bond?"
No, the Many Saints of Newark.
Yeah, we were speaking of that. Many Saints of Newark. So neither of the two is the answer. And also on that note, Dog Files says for $9.99, the 1968 riots in Newark really happened. The reaction to it was called the Great White Flight, where the middle class left the cities. That's why Tony family don't live in Newark anymore. All right, cool. And then let's see, we got this one. And Hypergiver 2 said, "I never liked Craig as Bond, and Spinster was the killing blow for me. I'll just wait for the next 007 to be announced."
We read that one, yeah.
That one, yeah. And then we got Warwolf says, "James Bond renamed to the Scottish name Hamish Bond appears in Kim Newman's third unknown Dracula book." Yeah, we got that one.
So we're getting close now.
Yeah, we're getting close. And then I just have to refresh here to get on get all of the newer ones. But yeah, I think we are seeing that the end is in sight here. Let's see, we got this one, we got this one, we got this one. Naked Fame says, "Where has everybody gone if there was a man?"
I'm not sure what he was referring to there. What did you
Where
mean by
has
that?
everybody gone if there was a man?
Yeah, let me know what you meant there, Naked Fame. You don't have to super chat again. Just
highlight, because the we're kind of like lost on context right now.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for that, Scanadate says, "I'm trying to say that Nintendo sold out to Microsoft for including something that is a direct competition over characters who have actual close ties to Nintendo and scamming. I'm not sure about the scamming side of things, but I mean, they've had crossover characters and a lot of things for years. And that's the thing is, there's been some characters that have been like priority to one specific platform, but that's not always I would call the norm. But I don't know if I'd consist that of selling out per se.
No, it's not. It's completely the opposite, man. Because look, it would be selling out if Microsoft was still on top of Nintendo right now, but they're simply not. This is a power play. Okay, it's a dominancy thing. Who's holding whose belt loop in this prison?
Right.
Now Xbox is holding the belt loop in Nintendo, right? I hate to
Right.
put it like that, but that's the way it is.
Well, yeah, it's a lot easier for Nintendo when they were the only other kid on the block. Yeah.
It's DLC, man. They could always add as many characters as they want, but to have something come over from that Microsoft side, Microsoft is historically more friendly towards crossplay type of stuff than like a PlayStation is, right? But to get that, they didn't get the good end of the deal on that. Believe me, they didn't. Nintendo did. And it's all just to bleed more people into the Nintendo. So at the end of the day, it's a very good move, monetarily and for the future. But I've always ragged on Xbox. So to me, it all makes me laugh. Because I'm a PlayStation guy.
Yeah, like that's all I can say to it, though, is like the whole proprietary thing isn't as exclusive to video games as it is in other places, probably. But Dr. Long Dongler sent us a super sticker. Let me see if I can see what it is here on my end. So it is.
It's a winky face with one eyeball open.
Yeah, eventually it'll pop up on my side. Thank you for that, Dr. Long Dongler. And what did we have left, Andre, for super sticker?
First I'm just going to send you a picture on Messenger that you can bring up, which we got from Douglas Nelson, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful. So you do have to bring that up on screen here. He sent it a little while ago, but I didn't see it until now. But thank you, Douglas. So Tom, if you check your message, yeah, there you go. And then going back to the super chats in the meantime, what we have left, we're starting to see the end here. Then we have Oliver Clothesoff, who says for $10, James Bond died with Sean Connery. And then Diego Flores also clarifies the Nintendo discussion, saying that is not selling out, that is negotiating to get the old rare games for the 64 expansion pass in the online. For context, Rare left Nintendo because of Miyamoto being a control freak. I see this is something I need to learn much more about. And then Oddball 1971 wonders, are any of you looking forward to Top Gun, or even care about its being pushed back so much? And yeah, I don't care that it's being pushed back. I mildly look forward to it. I do care that Jackass is pushed back, though. But that's me. How about you, gentlemen?
I'm not a big I'm not like dying to see Top Gun, but I bet you Paramount's. It's funny you bring this up. Actually, I'm kind of glad you brought this up as Super Chat, because I was going to mention this earlier, but we got past the point so I could bring it up. I wonder if Paramount isn't kind of kicking themselves in the ass right now for moving these movies. I kind of wish Culture was here to respond to that too, because I think he'd agree with me on that. Because the only other reason I can see them wanting to do this now is if they're really setting up the studio for sale and they want to have a few things on the back pocket as kind of like sweeteners to the deal, right? Like, look what we got for you to release next year. All you got to do is buy Paramount. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, it seems to be that there's a lot of moving and shaking going on over there that they may be.
I don't think so. That's a revenue cash grab opportunity, and I think
that's the other problem I see with it too.
I think it's like in the game of chess. Well, I think they thought that they were making a good first mover strategic move, because if you recall when that announcement was made, things were a bit different. There was definitely like, oh boy, here we go. We're lock doobie doos are going to happen again, and da. And they were the first to say, hey, let's just push all this shit back. And so I think it was a reactionary move. And if they were intelligent, what they should have done is they should have sat back and said, look, and if you look at the way they're managed and who manages them as a studio, which just means like they suck. Okay. They should have sat back and said, okay, Let's look at these other movies that are getting released. Let's take a look at what their numbers are. Let's let this thing sit for just a little bit, and then we'll decide what we're going to do. Instead, they jumped out in front and said, hey, here's what we think we're going to do, and we think we're doing the right thing. When in reality, I'll tell you this much. I was uber excited. I'd seen the trailers. I was uber excited. Then when I found out, which I think was on this show or it was on our Mead show, when I found out it was delayed again, I was like, man, F this.
Actually, I might have an answer to that now that I thought about it a little more.
Go.
Because we remember that when this was announced, I didn't even think about it from this aspect. This probably had more to do with two things. One, as we've said before, and Andre knows what I'm talking about, when I say there is no reason that Paramount has to rush to get this movie out any more than Sony has to rush to get Ghostbusters out. There's no reason to like get it out there because there's not a movie coming afterwards right away. It's not picking up right after another movie. So there's this no emergency immediacy to get it out there. The other side of it is Mission Impossible got delayed. They needed something there. I didn't even think about that till just when we were talking about this now. Because when that got delayed, now all of a sudden they had nothing for that spot. So they're like, well, let's just move Top Gun there. I think that's what happened. What do you think, Andre?
Well, first I wonder if you can hear me, right? Because you're cracking really bad for me, which tells me that probably I'll be cracking for everyone else.
You're fine on my end, but am I coming through fine for everybody else?
Both of you sound perfect.
Yeah, you're
okay,
fine.
cool. Glad to hear it. But anyway, I think that they acted a little bit too soon. And it's going to bite them in the ass. Then we have a few more super chats here as well. Who in the Steadfast says for $5 Canadian. Been a fan of Bond most of my life. Comedy was my favorite. My parents preferred more. Never liked the short Goblin's portrayal of Bond. So I guess he's not a fan of Craig then. Did I miss anything, Tom?
Well, I think you missed one of my points was that Mission Impossible shooting got delayed. So they didn't have anything to put there. So I think that's why they moved Top Gun there now that I think about it. Because there's no immediacy to get Top Gun out like with Ghostbusters for Sony. And if they didn't have Mission Impossible for next summer, they need something to put there. So I think that...
Yeah, that could be. That could be. I haven't studied their schedule.
It looks like their whole schedule got pushed off a little bit because everything was delayed. Yeah, I think it had more to do with that. I mean, there may have been a bit of a knee-jerk reaction there, but...
Yeah. Could be.
But then Mission Impossible got shut down again. So yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And then we have Tarje Tiberius Mörk, the person I owe seeing James Bond to today.
Of Ghostbusters as well.
Who says for 50 Norwegian krona, speaking of upcoming movies, Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to be awesome. I'm pretty confident in this. Both me and my Canvas Vigo painting. Oh, awesome. You have that. Yeah, I'm looking more and more forward to that movie myself.
He is Vigo. You are but the buzzing of flies to him.
And then to see behind the scenes here. Then we have Dr. Longdongler, who sent us pound or 99 pence super smiley super sticker. So thanks for that.
I think we should be caught up then.
And then we are actually caught up.
Because we did get Hearens. Did we get Hearens here? I think we did. No, yeah, we did.
Yes, we did. We did.
I think we're good to go.
Yeah, we are indeed good to go.
Thank you so much, guys. Because, yeah, here's Dr. Longdongler super sticker.
Yeah, that's the smiley.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome sauce.
Oh, and no, Freakadelic sent another PayPal message.
Oh, cool.
Okay, well, then I have to log in again.
Let's see what that is.
Give me a moment here.
Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding.
You guys want me to turn?
Baby,
I can always turn my. What the hell?
I'm back in loving arms. I'm back in babies. Ding a ding a ding ding ding. Okay, you ready?
No, I'm still. Now I'm ready.
3 minutes. Okay.
Now I'm ready. Let's see. From Freakadelic, and he says Superman being white has an overlooked aspect that he was written by 2 Jewish writers, and Supes being seen as white serves as an allegory for Jewish person having to pass off as another ethnicity for their own protection, something that was integral to that kind of experience at the time and even sometimes now. And Supes can't be afforded to be outed as not human being. That's actually not a bad observation at all.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah,
Because he was originally designed off of a Jewish golem.
yeah. As like, or also like there's also you have like the Moses myth and everything there. So that's cool. I like that. Well, of course, I don't like that it was necessary, but I do like that they were able to take that part of both mythology and lived experience and put that into it. That aspect of it I do like. So yeah, very good observation. Very good observation. Yeah.
Back when people used to think about things and make art.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, I mean, that comes from the best era, from like the end of the pulp era.
So with that, I want to thank everybody who was on the show today, including Chris Gore, of course, and Culture Casino, Jesse for popping in here, Mike, of course, for always being the ever-present producer you are. Thank you so much to the chat, and the Wrenches, of course, for doing the thankless job that you do. Thank you so much for that, even though I just said it was thankless. But still, we do appreciate it. Of course, we have Six, we have Mr. Tickle Trunk, and we have Lindsay in the chat, and I saw Mags earlier as well, and I know popped in for a bit. I can't remember who else was here as far as our Wrenches. I apologize, but I'm pretty sure I grabbed all of your names thus far. And, of course, thank you, Douglas, for your art, of course, as always. It is amazing.
Did you thank Cameron?
Oh, Cameron was here this morning, too. That's right.
Yeah, Cameron. Before, in your defense, he was here before you arrived.
I know. That was like yesterday to me.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, thanks to Cameron. He's in his wedding right now.
What did you guys start off on? Because I missed that whole part of the show.
It's well worth rewatching. It was about the Scarjo lawsuit. So,
Willie's dead to me because he said we don't need Reservoir Dogs. So
really,
I'm just kidding. Yeah, no. Of course, I forgot Willie.
He's a young lad. He doesn't understand the.
That's his best movie.
Yeah. Well, we'll just.
I'm not a Kill Bill fan. Change my mind.
Tiberius Monk says he calls her rar. So there you go. I like that. All right, kids. And with that, check out Jesse's channel. Of course, check out Cameron's Patreon. Check out Chris's channel. Check out Culture's channel. Check out
Culture Casino. It's live right now. So go ahead on over to Culture Casino. Is he not live now?
I got the link right here.
Because then you can all go over and say hi.
Head on over there and tell them we sent you. And with that, I want to tell everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great weekend. I'll probably see you guys later on Friday Night Tights. We'll probably do something for members this weekend at some point. And as soon as I get out of YouTube jail, because guess what? Doesn't even matter if they allow me to win the appeal. I've already been punished. So there we go. That's the great part.
Already been punished for not having done anything wrong in the first place.
Not only that, but those things hang on for a couple of months.
Yeah, if I don't get it appealed, it will be. Yes. Yeah, that's the other problem. So
and the appeals process is, let's just say, not up to snuff.
No, not really.
Clearly. So I've already sat my jail time for a crime I don't even know if I've been guilty of, which I technically am not, but still, point is I haven't even had my day in front of the judge.
Well, your singing used a deceptive cadence, so that was a deceptive practice.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see how anything could happen to you because you embrace diversity, inclusion, and representation by having me on.
So let's raid Culture Casino, as Mr. Tickle Trunk there says, and thank you all so very much. Hit that like button on your way out the door, and let's get some marsupials wet.
Wait. Before we go, we got one final super chat in here. Patrick Mulligan.
We did.
Patrick Mulligan says, in Dune, they ask, have you seen the body? For media, it should have been, have you seen the writing? No need to explode over speculation. So, yeah, words of wisdom there.
That's true.
And with that.
Speaking of wisdom, we have a koala has 0 fucks to give about being in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given, koalas